Hey everybody, I'm Mike.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Arwen.
Yes.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. We are live from our basements because that's been a joke since we started.
It has. Arwen does. I don't think she's in her basement.
No, I was debating where to set up tonight because all of my board games are in my basement.
Oh.
But this is my office. This is where I do most of my calls from, and I figured this is a little bit more cozy and comfortable place.
Nice.
Plus, you got this weird IKEA bear in the back, and he's great. So
it's a unique feature.
Yes. Probably bought him the same place you bought your shelves.
Yes, I did. Yeah, and there were quite a few purchases that were made at that location. I'll just say that.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
There has to be. That's the rule of going to IKEA. If you're not spending hundreds or thousands of dollars, why did you go in the first place?
Easily.
For the meatballs. For the meatballs. No, I just went for the meatballs and just a little browse.
Listen, I just wanted dinner. That's all that I wanted. And 4 hours later, after I got lost in that maze,
yes,
everything's good.
The maze, that is IKEA. I thought that was a legend until I went, and then I'm like, oh, that's real. That's a thing.
It's a very real thing.
Very real.
All right. Well, we should introduce our guest, Arwen. She is the host of Cardboard Time, a wonderful podcast. Kim Breeze put us in touch and was like, hey, you guys need to talk to Arwen. And then because of Kim, I started listening to your podcast, and I know I've messaged you a few times about that. I apologize. I just get excited. Like, oh, I know this person. I could say, hey, I like this, or this was good, and all that.
Dare you message someone about their podcast?
I know, right. But you do a really good job. I really appreciate it.
I just absolutely hate positive feedback, Tim. You should feel absolutely horrible about this.
I do.
Please do apologize.
But yes, if you haven't yet, everybody should. I very strongly recommend go check out her podcast because it's really good. Arwen, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Arwen Kathke. I use she, her pronouns. I am a board game podcaster. I'm an engineer by day. I work for a major company here in Ohio. I won't say which one, but I think Googling, you can probably figure it out. I think I'm legally obligated. They're like, don't mention that you're associated with us.
My work does the same thing. I'm just kidding.
But I do run the Cardboard Time podcast. It is a episodic show that runs every other Tuesday. Episodes release at 5 a.m. If you're an early riser. If you're not, they'll be there when you get up. Just subscribe. They'll be there.
They'll be there.
But I do a couple of different things on my show. I always talk about my shelf of shame. Or shelf of opportunity, as some people call it. So that's basically where you can go and see how many unplayed games that you have in your collection. Mine is currently at 151. It is down from 330 at one
Amazing.
Point, which was absolutely crazy. And we will get into some statistics in a little bit about that. But I do like to go through that. I do board game reviews, whether it's just content that's been sent to me through review copies, or whether it's stuff that I've gotten off the shelf of shame and want to talk about. I do games from all the way back in the 1910s, 1920s, all the way to the new hotness. And then on the back half of the show, what I really like to do and don't always get to do is, do interview segments with people from the industry. And that can be people from customer service representatives to artists to publishers to designers, anybody that's in the industry. I love talking to them. I love communicating their stories. Because they're people at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people forget about that when they're fulfilling Kickstarters and they're trying to make sure that your stuff gets to you. When they're designing stuff, they, have personal stories that they like to tell. And I have found some incredibly fascinating stuff about people that way. So that's kind of my favorite part of it. Not that I always get to do it. Sometimes life gets in the way and things are a little bit, stressful as far as time. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And I've been doing it since November of 2020. I started it as kind of a way to reintroduce myself to the gaming community after I transitioned. And it's been a great outlet for that. I've developed a lot of great self-confidence, and I think that that's a great story as well. But we might get into that a little bit later.
Sure. No, that's awesome. And I'm such a nerd for industry stories, like just like talking to other people, because like you said, right, their experiences and like the stuff they go through, because believe it or not, all of these people are not monsters just because your Kickstarter is 6 months late. I mean, stuff happens, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it's really wild. We've talked to Mike Giuliano and Chris Strain about this as well, but it's crazy how many awesome people there are in this hobby. And like just about every designer, developer, publisher that I've met, I mean, they're just wonderful people. You want to hang out with them. It's like, can we just be best friends? Because they've got just so much cool insight and knowledge and everything. So yeah, that's great.
And in some cases we are.
I have a confession. Right? I'm clicking on this picture here because, well, one, I don't know the game Stick'em, so intrigued.
Oh.
Number two, I'm obsessed with these kind of cups. Every time I have an opportunity to buy those, I just buy them. I love them.
Yeah, the like squishy, I can't remember what it's made out of, but it's silicone, yeah. Yeah. And of course the Dragon Con logo, one of my favorite conventions to go to. It's just all around nerdery for 4 days in Atlanta and just a lot of fun.
Nice.
Is that one is that a CMON like primarily, or do they just have a big presence down there? I thought I had a friend that went down there and did a lot of work for CMON.
So CMON used to be bigger down there. Since the pandemic, they've kind of scaled back maybe a little bit. Their presence was very, very well known down there in like 2018, 2019. They had a huge booth. And actually early on, probably 2014 or so is when I first started seeing them down there, and they were promoting Zombicide, and I'm like, what's this game? This is kind of interesting. And yeah, there was a deep rabbit hole after that. So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with CMON most of the time. I hate their Kickstarters. I love most of their games. And
their Kickstarters are like, I had to back out of them. Like, I don't pay attention anymore because they are just too detrimental to my wallet. And
yeah.
Oh,
for sure.
Speaking of Kim.
Yep, there she is. Did we say her name 3 times? She appears like Beetlejuice.
Yes, exactly. That's what happened.
And like Beetlejuice, that's kind of I want to hang with her.
Yes. Yeah, hanging out with Kim. Kim is great people. I really love hanging with Kim anytime that I get to see her. And Nerdapalooza that she hosts is a fantastic time. I'm sad that I didn't get to go last year, but it's always just such a chill, fun time. Surrounds herself with really good people, and good time.
Yeah, she's the best.
I'm going this year. I would have went last year, but I didn't find out about it until the Friday before, and I still almost went.
She gave me like plenty of notice, and I think there was a snowstorm or there was something that was going on that basically wouldn't allow me to go, and I was so mad. I was so mad.
I was debating throwing my kids in the car and dragging them out there go.
We're in northern Indiana, so it's a good 4 hours plus to get down there. So obviously you said you talk about your shelf of shame on your podcast a lot. So very big reason why it is your topic. So, what is it about the shelf of shame that that makes it a regular topic of conversation for you, and made you whittle down your shelf of shame in half?
Yeah, pretty much in half. So actually a little bit more than half if I look at the numbers. So yeah, the shelf of shame. If I can be permitted to go back and do a little history lesson,
Go for it.
um, I started acquiring games pretty prolifically starting in the 2013 time frame.
Similar.
Yeah, the hobby was exploding. My first real hobby game that I would consider like my gateway game was a game called Dungeon Quest. And for those who are familiar, they know exactly what Dungeon Quest is. For those who aren't familiar, Dungeon Quest is a game that you delve into these dungeons. You're trying to get as much treasure as you possibly can and then get back out before either the sun rises or you get killed by the dragon or anything else that's in that dungeon, because quite frankly there's just a ton of things that want to kill you, traps and other minions and things like that. So I didn't know that hobby games could do this, and I think a lot of us in the hobby have had that similar reaction to some game in our past where we've been like, yeah, this just hits different. I didn't know the games could do this. I want more. So I got more, and unfortunately, I didn't get the people to play them with me as much as I wanted, and that was a problem. I figured I'll get these games, I'll be the host for all these things, and that did work to an extent, but it really, didn't quite go the way that I had intended. So a lot of them just sat. Um, I made a couple of really good friends that way, and just started buying games on sale because that became more the hobby than actually playing them. And the initial criteria was based on weight. And I don't mean weight as in, oh, this is a 4.37 weight on BGG. I mean just like physical heft to the game. How much component can I get for how little cost? And so I amassed stuff and I bought stuff on sale and went through my acquisition syndrome that way. And eventually it got to the point that I was up to about 330 games, and I was going to conventions regularly and buying games at conventions and going to Books A Million and half price books and the local game stores and just picking stuff up. And eventually, once I started hitting that 330 number, I said enough is enough. I'm going to start playing these and trying to whittle this down little by little. And that's what the podcast really kind of was intended to help me with was, hey, I have to talk about this. So now, as I'm going through these games, A, I have content, and B, I have to get something played. So it's like double good. And then my mentor from the Boards Alive podcast, basically said, Aaron, by the way, I had a brain fart, said that this is the most interesting part of your podcast. Like, you need to hone in on this. You need to make sure that you talk about this because this makes you different. This is what people are going to tune in for. Tell them why you bought certain things. Tell them why you wanted to play certain things. And that really was probably the best advice for me, because that is what I routinely hear other than the interview segments. This is what we want. We want more of this. We want to understand, what your logic was for picking this up. And it helped me too, because then I had to go through that thought process every time that I picked up a board game and bought it, I had to go and justify that to myself and say, okay, why am I buying this?
Right.
And I'm going to have to talk about it on the podcast. So if I don't have a good explanation, that's going to look really, really horrible when I'm talking about it, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a great way to hold yourself accountable.
Yep. So, I'm looking at the percentages of where I was on Shelf of Shame, and my old percentage was about 45% of my games I hadn't played. And that is down to about 17.6.
That's
nice.
Good.
So pretty proud of myself really for that.
Yeah, that's
so your friend was right. That is a really good idea to focus the podcast on that, because it's an interesting thing to talk about. Every discussion I have about it is always really interesting. I get new insight about it. And how much did the engineer play a part in getting weight per dollar?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Well,
it was
I always say I'm the most rational spender I know. And as a salesperson of 20 years, I know that the people you want to try to sell are the emotional buyers, because you can get people to buy on emotion. The rational buyers are, yeah, give me your card, I'll call you back. Well, that's me. And so if my Shelf of Shame starts to get big, I'm like, yeah, that's on sale, but what about all those over there? And we'll get into how percentage-wise how big that is of my collection. So interesting, though.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I've definitely had to have that transformation from that emotional buyer, which I still do. I mean, let's face it, I think we all still do at times. To more of that rational buyer of looking at, the fact that all my games are now not fitting on 5x5s. I think I have calyxes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's either 5 or 6, and then a 1x4, a 2x4, and another, or 1x4, and then 2 2x2s. So I think at some point you just have to say, I think I'm going to get through some of this stuff first before I go and purchase more.
Yeah, I have gotten to where, because like you, right, I was cultivating this collection, right? I was gathering up games, absorbing games faster than I could play them. Didn't always have all of the time that I would want to be able to commit to playing. Of course, I get into the hobby right when I start having kids. So like I get in the hobby like 2011, 2012, and my daughter's born in 2011. Great timing, right? Because there goes all your disposable income right down into the kids. And then, but then, yeah, like it's funny though, when you said, I was looking at like the weight of the game, I'm physically like, I'm thinking like, cause I just got a shipping notice for a game today. And I look every time still, how much does that package weigh?
Yep. Oh, 100%.
It's compulsory. I can't not, and it's like, it doesn't matter, like I have this gigantic designer edition copy of Ogre. It's the Steve Jackson box, and it's like this big, still in shrink. So I've never played that. And I've got Cockroach Poker, which I probably played 20 times this year. You know what I mean? And that's a deck of cards. So the rationale doesn't really make any sense, right?
Super fun game.
Which one's that?
I've heard of that one.
Explosion in the Laboratory.
Oh, I have heard of that. Yeah.
But little tiny card box, and that's another thing that I've learned, is that it's not the size of the box, it's not the weight of the components, it is what is inside, what kind of experience is inside, because there are people that make these gigantic boxes that have all these components, and when you put everything together and you play the game, it's not great,
right?
And then you have these small, I think my best example for that is a game called No Thanks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You have this little tiny box of cards and poker chips, and I have turned more people onto the hobby with that game than anything else.
that has been in the last 6 months, that has been Ahoy Kitten for me. I got a copy of Ahoy Kitten from Mayday Games. I play that everywhere, all the time, multiple games in a row with gamers, non-gamers, light gamers, heavy gamers, doesn't matter. Because yes, and that's kind of the other thing, right? Is you got to open yourself up to the possibility that just because a game isn't the next, Uwe Rosenberg or the next Lacerda, you can just have this nice little 15, 20-minute experience that will be just as much of a powerhouse as that 3-hour amazing Euro. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Well, how many people are sorry, but how many people are you going to get to play that, just giant 3-hour Euro versus the amount of people that you're going to be able to get with a small box game like a No Thanks?
That is why the majority of my purchases are games I think I can get to the table. And I think there's a lot like medium or lower. I like heavier games. Anachrony is one of my favorite games ever, but I have a higher threshold. If I'm going to spend that much time, that much money, so much time reading and setting it up, it needs to be good. Because if it's just okay, I'm like, how much is this worth spending 4 hours on every time I want to play it?
Absolutely.
So they need to be really good when they have that time, money, and time and cost sink into them. Some people are like, I spend a bunch of money on this game, then I'm just going to tell myself in my head it's really that good. And I'm like, I'm the total opposite. I'm like, if it's not that good and I spent all that money, I'm going to go trade in and get my money back. I've done a lot of trading and selling of games.
Yeah, I've been trying to pare down my collection a little bit. I don't love like selling games all the time because I don't know. So what I tend to do is give them away like at conventions, you know what I mean? Or like if we have like a meetup or whatever, like we were at like a small local one in Warsaw, Indiana. And like, we had a prize wheel you could spin and we were there as a booth for the show, like as a table, but we're like, just come play games with us and spin our prize wheel. And so like, no, you may not be getting like the most amazing game. You were so excited. This is on the hotness, but hey, here's a free game. Thanks for hanging out with us. Most people will gladly take that. And I'm like, I don't care what you do with it. Like, have a good time. Give it away to somebody else. If you don't like it, whatever. So I don't know why, but like for me, that is easier than trying to sell it. Cause you go through the process of listing and then you got to ship it. And then are they happy with it? I don't know. I get really caught up in, all of that. Oh, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, it is a process to go through, trying to sell it. And I have a couple of different outlets, the first one being conventions. I will do the flea market. I'll try to put something in that a couple of times. Some stores will actually have like little events that they'll give you store credit if you sell with them. Our local game store here, Recess, does that. And there were a couple of others I've seen do that in the past. But if it doesn't sell by then, I'm giving it away. Like I'm trying to find it a good home. And that's the biggest thing. I'm not going to donate it to Goodwill.
No, I would rather hand it to a person and say, here you go.
Yep. Here, play this game. Hopefully you enjoy it more than I did. And one of Kim's really good ideas is at Nerdapalooza. She sets out a table and says, if you want to sell something, here's just put your price on it. If you want to give it away or trade it for something else, please feel free. Just set it over on this table and pick something else up. I think that's a fantastic idea because you can get something that you've wanted to try in exchange for something that you really, it just didn't land with you.
You didn't,
and
right.
That's amazing.
We, pre-COVID, we used to host, we had a group. COVID kind of hurt us a bit, but we called it the Meeple Gaming Society. And so we would host these meetups like once a month and we would get like a hotel conference room, ballroom kind of thing, and we would have everybody show up, they'd bring games and we would do trade tables. And so basically if you put a game on the table, then we'd randomly pick from the people who put games on the table. When you got picked, you got to go up and take a game. And if your game got taken, then you got to go up and pick a game, you know, and so we've had pretty good results with that. It got to where we needed to put them in tiers, you know, like these are probably under $30 games and these are more than $30 games. Just so that people felt like they got something, you know, but nobody ever threw a fit. Like it all really went pretty well. The only time I think I'm the only person that ever got burned by this is that somebody put an incomplete game on the table that I scooped up, got home. And because I'm not like OCD about anything except for board games. And so like when I get a game, especially that's been used or open, I immediately, first thing I do when I get home is count all the components, go through, organize it the way I like it, box it up, and then it might sit on the shelf for a year. But that's not the point. The point is that it's all organized and I know everything's there and it's complete. And so, yeah, I got this game and it had like half of one expansion and half of the base game and not some other stuff. And I was just like, and I messaged the person because I knew who I got the game from. And I was like, hey, I got this off the trade table. Do you think you have this stuff floating around? And they're like, I don't know. They're kind of wishy-washy. And it wasn't worth like making a stink because I don't know that I gave away anything that I cared about that much. But I was a little disappointed, but I was glad it was me and not somebody else, right? Like, because I feel responsible for what everybody else gets when they, you know, because it's like, oh, well, Tim hosted that, you know, so nobody has ever come to me and gone, hey, Tim, we did the trade table and this happened. Because I would have felt horrible. I would have been like, okay, so how can we get them a full copy of this game?
No, that's 100%. You know, the feeling that you would have if that happened to somebody else is way worse than if it happens to you.
Yeah,
you're just like, whatever.
I'm so relieved it was just me, you know, like and nobody else. We did have this running joke where somebody always brought Glee, the board game, like that TV show from 10 years ago, and it never got picked. It was always the last game picked. And the rule was if you picked Glee, because after like the third time it showed up on trade table, you were not allowed to get rid of it except for bringing it back to the trade table. And everybody was great sports. And so it showed up on every dang trade table every time. They just brought it back, put it back on the table. And I loved it. It was really fun that we had sort of a running gag going as well.
That's how those legends get started. You know,
right.
It's kind of like the running joke of Yum Yum Island for us, which I won't get into. I'm just going to leave you with that, and you can discover that on your own.
I'm going to make a note of that because Yum Yum Island Frost. I'm writing that down.
Yum Yum Island.
Dave's getting a kick out of this joke, so let me go ahead and address it. So I got a dog right before December, or right before Christmas, and the only time she ever destroys things is when I stream. It is the only time she ever destroys things. Now, he destroyed all of the Dice Tower coasters that I had left that my old dog didn't destroy. So now that those are completely destroyed, now she went after the TV remote. At least she started with the back end where the battery compartment is and not with the buttons. So it's still usable. To add a little insult to injury, Bob is right, but I'm not just frugal with board games. That's everything. So this is why a shelf of shame topic is interesting to me. You find out about people's personal financing, kind of. You learn about how people judge value and how people spend their money. And I think that's a fascinating thing as a person that's ran a business and been in sales for a really long time. This is not just a board game thing. So when I hear my dog chewing things, I just hear like money falling out of the couch. Like I'm like, what am I losing money on now? What do I have to go rebuy? So I apologize that the headset's half off. I'm literally just listening for things to be chewed on back here, and I can't stand it. So.
Mike, I am amazed at your commitment to the long game that you are, when we all show up to your house to play games in a few weeks, when the remote's chewed up, that you chewed up personally. You've now laid the seeds that your dog did it, but I know you probably did it while watching Purdue basketball, like being close games, and you're just like, but, you know, blame the dog. That's fine. I'm good with that.
there's some ideas I'm gonna have to consider because I can completely ignore her and play video games, but she won't go chew up whatever she can find when I do that. So
It's that
I
you're
don't
engaging with others.
Yep.
That's what it is.
I'm on a Discord chat when I'm playing video games too. So really, to her, it's almost not any different. I
Oh,
don't
it
know.
feels.
It's
Maybe
weird.
she hates my voice. She wouldn't be the first.
Wow. Well, I'll put the headphones on her, then see what she does.
Oh, lock, put her to kennel first. And my
But
apologies to Sushi.
as much as we've pre-texted our list, we
Yeah.
do have 10 each to get through. Definitely want to hear the statistics and some of your justifications and everything. Tim, do you want to start and then I'll finish?
Yeah, that's fine. So
We'll
it'll be
go
me, then Arwen, then you, Mr. Mike.
clockwise.
That is cool.
Alrighty. Yeah. Lot to choose from. So we'll start with number 10. Number 10. Tim's number 10.
Number Tim.
Okay, so there's you'll see a theme in a minute, but so my number 10 is Jaws of the Lion. Okay, so Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. I asked for this for Christmas 2 years ago. Got it. Haven't played it yet. Gloomhaven, it's a game I would like to get into. I feel like what makes me nervous about legacy games is if you start playing them wrong and then you get like really far in, well, how much of it has been screwed up because you were playing it wrong early? And I'm really paranoid about that. I don't know why. I can't tell you how many times I played a video game where it's like I've started, and it's a campaign style game and I've gotten really far and it's like, oh no, like if I had been making different choices early on, I got to start over, And so like I have this weird terror compulsion of like, I don't want to play it wrong. Like I want to play it right. So I asked for Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, because I heard that will make sure that when you get into other Gloomhaven stuff, you will be, rocking and rolling, ready to go with the correct rules set. So that is because I guess we should say, the 10 that we have picked off of our shelves of shame are ones that we are very excited to get to the table and play. And the other thing about Gloomhaven is Jaws of the Lion is I could solo it if I can't get a regular group. And I'm not above soloing a game. When COVID first hit, I played through like Imperial Assault, like a whole bunch of that all by myself with the app, had a great time. So Jaws of the Lion, I have that option. I have that ability. So it's my number 10 and why I am excited to get it off the shelf of shame. I don't feel the need to call it a shelf of opportunity. It is a shelf of opportunity, but it is also my great shame.
Yeah, exactly. It's both. It's really both.
Yeah, it's not a binary thing. It can be both. It's wonderful. So anyways,
that's a good one, Tim. That's the Gloomhaven I have played. I thought I bought that to play with a 12-year-old at the time, and we enjoyed it. It eases you in perfectly. I actually much prefer the map set on that one, where it's just a binder and you just pick the page you want to be on. That's one of my biggest detriments for like dungeon crawler games is setting up the map. Give me a binder or give me a very quick way to get each scenario set up. Jaws of the Lion does that perfectly, but Reed's right. The Steam, the online version is awesome.
Well, I think it's on PS5, and I considered buying it on PS5. And going that route as well. But I feel like I have the physical copy. Shouldn't I be playing those? And does it count? That's a good question, real quick, not to derail everything. If you have a digital copy of a board game, but you haven't played the physical version, but you played the digital version, does it still count as unplayed? None of those apply to my list. But I'm just curious as we go on if that, because now that is becoming more and more a thing. A couple of years ago, that's not even really an option. But now it's definitely more prevalent. Like Charterstone, I can play Charterstone on my iPad. I do play Lords of Waterdeep on my iPad. I mean, there's tons of games you can save yourself setup time. All right, Arwen, I'm so sorry. It is your turn for top 10. I will stop.
Nope. No problem. Actually, I'm going to comment, very briefly. I do have something to ask you, though. You
Okay.
said that your shelves are both, opportunity and shame, and you said that wasn't a binary thing. Are you saying that your shelves are non-binary?
I guess I am. They are.
Okay.
They are. There's no judgment in
Um,
this house.
sorry, horrible joke.
No, I love
Um,
it.
we we spent 3 years playing Gloomhaven, and some of it was through the pandemic and playing virtually, because it was just easier. Um, it
So
to
did
me,
you enjoyed it then?
I I enjoyed it. I think I actually have a copy of Frosthaven that is unopened in my
Mhm.
basement and continues to be unopened, and I'm not sure when that's gonna get played. And I'm not like super excited because I know how much of a time,
Right.
I shouldn't say time sink, but time investment it is. It's a fantastic game. I love playing it, but it's just so much that it's hard to justify.
Yeah, I mean, time sink has negative connotations, but yes, it is you are dedicating a lot of time. You need to have a dedicated group. It's not just like people show up to your house and you're like, hey, we're gonna play Gloomhaven. What? Yeah.
And then you're done.
Yeah. Right.
Tim, give us your stats. Give us your played versus unplayed and percentage.
Oh my God. I have over 800 games. I have 120 unplayed, and I'm using my phone to film, so I can't do the calculator. And I forgot to do
I got you.
the percentage. So let's just say 800. Just put 800 out there as a ballpark. It's probably slightly more than that.
131?
120 unplayed games is me. But I know that because I physically went through my collection and wrote down on a legal pad.
That's 15%, Tim. That's not
Oh,
bad.
that's not bad.
That's not bad.
It's better than I thought. It's better than I thought. But I've actually made a commitment probably in the last year to really try, because I'm trying to play it, and then do I keep it or get rid of it? And it's not like I've got a cap or a limit, but it's like I at least got to get this played, because if I get rid of it and I hear it's awesome, I'm going to be really bummed out,
Absolutely. That's always my fear. I'm always like, I could just sell this and then it wouldn't be unplayed on my shelf. But then it's like that little thing in the back of your head that's like, well, maybe this is good.
Right. Yeah, it's like,
maybe
but it could have been
good. I'll never know.
Wayne, that's a great number. I'm assuming you have more than 60 games. I know Wayne has more than 6 games. But yeah, that's 50 to 60. That's a good number.
His whole collection is unplayed games, Tim.
Yeah, his whole collection is just unplayed. He's just a curator.
So my number 10 is an older game that recently got re-released by Gale Force 9, and that is Dune. I've never played it. Yep, I see it right back there on Tim's shelves. Yep. It is a highly asymmetric area control-ish game. That wacky things happen, and just the faction powers are wholly unbalanced.
Oh, they're amazing.
And I can't get the right group to make the investment in time to learn everything first.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't quite been able to make that happen, but that is definitely, a priority to make happen once I can figure out how to do that.
Well, our friend Dan, one of our co-hosts on the Sunday show, he found these player raids on BGG and kind of modified them a little bit. But he printed out and laminated these amazing player raids that basically break down what each faction do like really well. I've only played half a game of this, but I left Dune off of my list because I technically played half a game of it. But yeah, what an amazing pick. And this game is an experience. Like, it's not just a game. Like, you're there for the experience. And now, right, with Dune 2 coming out tomorrow, and I know Mike was not as enthralled by the part 1 as me and some of his other friends were.
I've read the book.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. Like a whole other level of nerd. But yeah. But I was enthralled by Dune and the world of Dune and Arrakis and all of that. And so much so that when you couldn't get that first edition from the 70s, I went and bought Rex, the Twilight Imperium version, still on my shelf, a shame. But yeah, I mean, so that's a fantastic pick.
Yeah, it was something that I actually thought about buying Rex just because, again, like you said, it was very hard to get the 70s version.
Yes. And well, and that's the other thing, right? Is like we didn't know Dune was going to come out, like in its own.
They were doing the remake, and I'm like, let's. Apparently, there we go.
Oh, sorry.
Hopefully, everything's
usually
good.
Tim. You're fine. We had issues with Tim buffering for months on the stream, and somehow we still have an audience to this day. So you're
good. The question I have about Dune, though, is what did you guys think about the 1980s version of Dune? Because I was a huge fan of that.
Okay, so as a child, like I was born in the late 70s. I grew up with that Dune. I had a Dune action figure. It was the Kyle MacLachlan, No, the arms didn't like do anything but go like straight up and down.
Exactly.
And I might have even had the Sting action figure as well. Baron Harkonnen in that movie scared the hell out of me. I love that movie. It's a crazy all-star cast. It makes movies. I wish they would make movies like that still, and they don't. And fun fact, David Lynch did that instead of doing Return of the Jedi. They wanted David Lynch to do Return of the Jedi. He did not, did Dune instead.
I think we won out because we got like fine. 2 fantastic movies out of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that Dune's awesome in its own way. Like if you're a fan of the book and you're like really stuck to all of that, you might not be as satisfied, but like, I don't know, man, that movie is visually like amazing. There's like, they just went for it. And I love that they went for it. And again, that cast is so good. There's so many great actors and actresses in that movie. It's just really good. So I'm also glad there's another Dune lover on here. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, I want to be a Dune fan, but if you haven't read the book, the new movie is a terrible entry point. As I've learned, I've tried to get through that thing twice, and I just can't. I don't get anything from it. It's just not made for people that don't really know anything about the universe.
David's not wrong. The sci-fi Dune series, if you can get bad the terrible CGI, that is a very close adaptation of the first couple of books. Because I believe they did the what was it, the second one, the God Emperor? Is that the second one? Or the God King of Dune? I forget. I don't know. They covered basically like the first 3 books, I think, through that series. And the CGI, it's terrible sci-fi production values. But also as a Doctor Who fan, I don't care. I'm used to terrible production values because I watched BBC Doctor Who back in the the 80s, and
I did too. Yeah, I mean, once you're used to it, you're used to it. It doesn't matter anymore. It's all good.
Oh, Children of Dune. Yeah, you might be right, Bob. Yep, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, God Emperor of Dune. Thank you, David. I knew there were some other geeks out there.
All right, I suppose my number 10 unplayed game that I want to get to the table. So I'll do provide a little bit of context here. So I also started logging games about 10, 11 years ago, right around the same time you talked about, Arwen. And that was when I had an uncle show me Lords of Waterdeep. And that was the first game I bought and started teaching friends. That was the one that just pulled me right in. It really took almost 2 years before I found a regular group. So I wasn't getting regular sessions for a while. So the only games I got to play were like stuff that I would buy or my uncle would show me. Then I found a group, and then I was just buying the good ones that they would teach me. And so then I went, a while without a group, and then I'm like, Tim, please, please, because I didn't really know Tim. Tim and I were just like Facebook friends, and I didn't really know Tim. I think it was just because of a conversation that started based on a Facebook group post, and I was like, oh, he's local. Oh wait, we have a mutual friend. All right, I'm gonna message him, and then we started chatting, and then after a
That
year
was
of
your first
chatting, I'm like,
mistake.
Tim, you gotta have a group, right? Like I'm starving over here, please.
I'm like, no, I don't
And
have a group at all. I don't know anybody.
yeah. Now our problem is that I buy games because I have a group to play them, but we're only playing review games, and I'm not this buyer. I do sometimes. There's some stuff that I'm like, okay, Bob doesn't have it, Tim doesn't have it. I'm buying it so we can review it. That has definitely happened.
Mhm.
But usually I get beat to the punch on that. So that being said, I've been told for a content creator, I have a really small collection at just 238 games.
Don't let
That
them
being
shame you.
said,
Don't let them
Mm.
shame you.
it's carefully crafted. I don't like bloat in games. I don't like bloat in my collection. If they sit or if I think they won't hit the table again, I sell them or trade them off. So my previously owned was sitting at 68. I think there's some I may have even missed in there. Out of 238, though, 31% is unplayed. So I'm at
Ooh.
76. So it's
So you
a
need to buy more
high
games that
number.
you've played to manipulate that number so that your percentage is lower, like
Yeah.
mine. If you
Right.
had a
But
higher volume of games, then you'd be fine.
and I don't buy games. I don't always buy games I like either. I'm like, wait, there's two copies in our group, you know. So even then I just find reasons where I'm like, I don't need to make space for that. All right. So that being said, my number 10 is Manhattan Project Energy Empire.
Oh.
Um,
Mm.
now, wrong thumb. I'm a big fan of Dwellings of Eldervale, of course, a Luke Laurie game. I was also a big fan of Manhattan Project, which was one of the first worker placement games I got into when I first got into the hobby. I did enjoy that one. I liked the theme and the art style. And then, of course, they made two other versions and put a different designer on each one. And I didn't realize until way later that this is the best one out of the three. And it was because of Dwellings of Eldervale that I learned about Luke's older games. I learned that he really likes to design worker placement games that have that recall mechanic. And Energy Empire was the first one of the first ones where he used that mechanic. So I really enjoy that theme and that mechanic in Dwellings. So it was a no brainer that I picked up Energy Empire.
That's a good pick. That is a good pick.
Yeah, I need to play the original first, and
Same.
I've heard great, and that's actually on my shelf of shame.
Nice.
You know, because I have it, just haven't had the right circumstances of playing it. But Energy Empire is definitely one that I wanted to pick up after I played the original.
So it got a little harder to find for a while there. I don't know if that's changed because you'll buy a game and you're not looking for copies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a little tricky to find for a little while, and I heard it was on its way to being out of print. So I found a used copy from someone in our Discord actually. So
Nice.
I was pretty happy to pick that one up when it was starting to get hard to find. All right,
That
good choices, guys. Let's get to number 9. Was there something else, Tim?
nope. You're good.
On it.
All right. I'm gonna stay
my
on
gosh.
theme. What? You all right?
No, I'm looking at Wayne's comment here that there's some store that has like 10
Oh.
copies. Wayne, just go buy them all and then wait 3 years and charge scalper prices.
But
I'm
Wayne
kidding.
doesn't live
I
in New
don't
York.
do that. I know.
Wayne doesn't live, but I guess it's worth. I mean, you
He could
could
just
make it.
meet us at
Road trip.
QSCon, Wayne.
Yeah. All right. So my 9 will be boring because I'm staying on theme real quick. And my number 9 is Gloomhaven. So I've got Jaws of the Lion. I got to get that played. Then I got to get Gloomhaven played. Again,
The king of arbitrary lists has a crossover with his own list. Come on, Tim. You could have squeezed something else in there instead of a variant, instead of Gloomhaven and a variant.
listen, I have a stack. Most of my games are
A stack of other games you could have. I know.
Shut up. I have this summer last summer, excuse me, was overcome by a bout of insanity and decided to alphabetize my games. Loosely, not perfectly, loosely. Like the A's are in this area, the B's are in this area, so on and so forth. And due to shelf size and restrictions, there might be like a G near an F, like swapped, because it's like, look, it's as close as it's going to get. I'm not going to be so hard and fast to this rule. But I do have the Gloomhaven games just all together stacked up by themselves on a different shelf. They're actually sitting on top of my Sentinels of the Multiverse Infinity box next to the giant ogre that I have, because it goes well on like a display kind of thing.
Wow, is he friendly?
Who, the ogre?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's super friendly. It's Steve Jackson friendly, so it's like Munchkin rules. Anyways, so Gloomhaven is my number 9 for obvious reasons. I mean, Jaws of the Lion kind of leads into Gloomhaven. Because if you play that one, you get that off the shelf. Well, then Gloomhaven is the next sensible choice. Because I was determined to make myself play Gloomhaven. This was before Jaws of the Lion came out. I bought a Daedalus wooden insert for my Gloomhaven, which then I painstakingly assembled. And so my Gloomhaven actually has a really nice wooden insert that is just gathered dust.
Thank you, Chris.
Currently sitting there.
I'm
currently sitting
wondering the same thing now.
Pound for pound, the Gloomhaven stuff is definitely rivals my Cthulhu Wars for heaviest stuff in my collection, except Cthulhu Wars I've played most of.
I want to say, if you talk about weight, $1 per weight, Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion has got to rank pretty high, because you can get copies for like $40 now, and there's a lot of content in that box.
$20.
Yeah,
I've seen it
cheap
that low
now.
if you wait for the right time.
It's cheap now.
Content and weight per money. Yeah, that one's a big one right there.
Yeah. So, anyways, I won't spend a ton of time on it because, whatever. But I do wonder if I were to sort of bite the bullet, so to speak, and just buy the video game version and play through that. Does that count? Does that get it off my shelf of shame?
So
only if you base a whole extra list on it. I'm running with it.
I'm actually curious to see, and people in the chat can kind of chime in that know, but I'm interested to see how much the video game adaptation differs from the actual physical copy of it.
Right.
If it's like the same gameplay, if it's the same story, if it's the same scenarios, to me, I count that.
Fair.
I play stuff on BGA that I get off the shelf. I won't do a review just on BGA.
Sure.
I do need to have that physical presence of the copy to do reviews now. But yeah, it's something that if it's close enough, then just count it.
So I got a question for you real quick. I'm sorry, Mike. I got a question for you, Arwen. So how are you with learning games on BGA? Because for me, like, I can only play games on BGA if I already know how to play it. Like, for whatever reason, my brain just does so much better with handling of like the physical components most of the time. I mean, I can learn video games, but like BGA feels more like an app, it's not the same for whatever reason.
Yeah, and that's a common criticism that I've heard of BGA from a lot of people, is that they just like, I'll start up a game of something and they'll be like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm, getting into. Like, I'll usually watch a video and then I'll have an idea of what's going on and how everything's working. I think part of I actually think part of the learning cycle is kind of broken with BGA because it handles so much for you that you
Mhm.
don't have those questions that you're normally looking to answer. So
Mhm.
you're not looking at like, okay, I take 3 points here and I know why I take 3 points here. In BGA, you just get the 3 points and then you're done with it. You
Mhm.
don't know where it comes from. It's just like,
Right.
I'm getting the 3 points. It's great.
And it's not a dig. It's an amazing,
Mhm.
online, way to play games. It's awesome. Because the games that I'm very familiar with, like we play After Us all the time on BGA. It's one of my favorite games. I will play the physical copy. I will play it online, but I know that game very well. I can do it very easily. But there's sometimes where it's so helpful to be able to play a game and somebody to go, hey, if you do that, this is going to happen, right?
Mhm.
Or to be able to go, if I do this, I'm going to get this, right? That makes sense. And to not necessarily have that, when you're playing BGA, it also, I play board games because I like the social experience.
Yeah.
I really love sitting across from people and yelling at them because they ruined my game or they destroyed me and everything in a fun way. But yeah, anyways, BJ is great. I love it. Does it count? It sounds like it does. It sounds like Reed and Bob both. That's two people that
20
apparently have played Gloomhaven online.
Plenty of people count any online play of any game, whether
Sure.
it's on Steam or it's on a console or it's BGA. And I have no issues with that because you are still making the decisions. The thought processes are the same. You can
Yep.
still log your score if you want and who you played against. And that's totally fair. I personally have not jumped off the bridge of logging digital plays yet. I could. Maybe I'll get there, but there's something about being able to say that's how many games I actually set up and physically touched, and that's where I keep my list is pure, I
Now,
suppose.
now, Mike, this is what a dog I am. Is when I beat Bob and After Us, I register that play. Even if I beat him
Oh,
on BGA, if I beat Bob in a game, it goes in BGG stats, so I could throw it in his face later. If Whether it's online or physical. Otherwise, I don't track him. Anyways,
Bob is one of our co-hosts, great friends, and he's in the chat too. So he didn't get to defend himself from the ribbing. So
and it's
tonight.
better that way. It's better that way. Bob is one of my oldest friends. I love him. He's an amazing human being. When you get to meet him, because I know you will, we'll meet up at a con, we'll play a game. Everybody loves Bob, but so I get to give him hell as often as I can. All right, so Arwen, what is your number 9, please?
So my number 9 is a game that I've kind of played already, but I haven't played this version of it, and it is
Ooh.
Too Many Bones Unbreakable.
Ooh.
I have played Undertow, I have played Standard Bones, I have played multiple games of it. I absolutely love it. It's in my top 10 of all time. Just games that I will get out if I have the people at the table and I know that I can get, everything out and they're going to understand it and they're going to get into it, it is getting to the table. And Unbreakable is the only version of it that I haven't gotten to the table yet. I'm very excited about it. At some point soon, I'm going to be getting it out because that's like the next logical play. If I'm going to be getting this out, let's get the Unbreakable set out as well.
That is a very, very well made, very cool game. I played it like once or twice at our buddy Bob's. Because it's chip theory, and I know he was like all in at least on the first Kickstarter, and got to play it. And I'd never played anything like it.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, and setup's one of those things that I like to play 2 or 3 games of it in a row, and just have the base setup going and then change everything out for the different games because it is such a bear. I've got the big huge treasure trove.
It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It fits perfectly in a calyx slot, and it's so cool. I love what they did with the world building. I love the premium components that they use. Everything's handled with care. They go into such incredible detail at Chip Theory in
Mm-hmm.
everything that they do, and they're wonderful people too. I love working with them. I usually get to play whatever the new hotness is. The past couple of times it's been the new Elder Scrolls, which is going to be
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
I hope
I
so.
I
They
decided
got to do
not
it
to back
justice.
it. I decided not to back it because I knew that it wouldn't get to the table enough. But it is a fantastic game, and I know that they're going to do it justice. I know that they're going to do it right. I had that moment of realization that I was like, I'm either going to invest this here or I'm going to save. I'm going to go on vacation somewhere.
Right. Do
And
something fun. Right.
yeah. So I chose not to, but it is a fantastic game. I played it twice so far.
Nice.
That's yeah. Isn't that like?
You're
There's
talking
been
about the Elder Scrolls?
no too
Yeah.
many. Well, yeah. Isn't it a gut
Which
punch when you're like, oh, I really want this game. I'd love it. It'd get played once,
Yep.
maybe twice.
So
I guess I'll wait.
And
too
that's
many.
oh, go ahead,
Oh,
Mike.
go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, Too Many Bones is a game I've wanted to play for a long time. But again, just like who am I going to get to play that and that barrier to entry? And unfortunately, I don't know that any publisher has quite done the Elder Scrolls IP justice. So I am super optimistic that Chip Theory can because it deserves it. It's an awesome IP.
Yeah, it is something else to play this game. Like we had a fantastic time with it. It is very reminiscent of Too Many Bones in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways, combat wise. Just your setup of your character. It does add a little bit. It is more in depth. It gets really deep, like as deep as you want it to go. Which I thought was fantastic. But Tim, that brings up another point that you mentioned. It's a gut punch when you look at something and you really want it, but you know that you'd only get it played once. And that's something that I want to mention with my Shelf of Shame is that I bought all these games that were, huge legacy, like Frosthaven. I bought immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, Dead Reckoning,
Mm.
which is another one that didn't quite make my list. It's like at number 11. I went all in on it, and I'm like, did I need to do that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I going to get it out enough? And that's something that I think as you're curating your collection and as you're being cognizant of what's going into your collection, you have to be mindful of, am I going to get this played enough to justify it being in my collection?
Yes.
And that's
Now,
the thing. Your bigger games are gonna cost you more. So
Yep.
it's a more expensive thing to collect dust.
well, what I've recently done was like I've tried to find games that I played that other people have that I want to own. Like Tyrants of the Underdark. I've talked about this multiple times. It should be showing up at my house tomorrow. I finally just
Uh-oh.
bought a copy,
edition?
first edition. It's got the expansion. I'm very excited. It's finally going to show up to my house. Now, I played this game multiple times, but like, I don't know that I'm going to get it tomorrow and then it's going to get played this weekend. But I'm very happy that I have it because now I will be able to play it whenever I want. So and that's a game that I love enough that I feel like, you know what, that's worth having and holding on to. It's not something that I'm going to buy and then be like, oh, why did I buy this? And I didn't like overpay for it. I feel very good about, all of that. But it's really, I've had to really, 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 really cut back on the Kickstarters that I do now because, it was like borderline addiction, 10 years ago.
It's that serotonin go burr, kind of reaction. Like this is good. I bought the thing, and I'm excited about the thing, and then I forget about the thing, after I buy it, like a couple days after, until you get the notice when it all starts up again.
And then yes.
And then you remember that, and so the next thing comes out, and you're like, "Oh yeah, this is
Here
great."
we go.
Or you buy 6 things in a day, and they all go burr.
Yeah, it's like that meme that goes around, every once in a while on Facebook, where it's like, teach your children to love board games, and they'll never have a drug habit because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
It's the same dopamine hit, right? It's like, oh, I got this awesome thing coming, and then the amazing thing about Kickstarter or GameFound is that I bought it. Well, now it's going to be a year, and then you forget about it, and then a year later, it hits again. Like, oh, holy shit, let's go again.
Yep.
There's a real psyche to that. It's amazing.
Fear of missing out. I just
FOMO.
don't.
Oh, FOMO
have
is real.
I just don't buy on emotion. All right. My number 9. This was actually a Giuliano recommendation.
Uh-oh.
I recently acquired this. This is the last batch of used games I bought, and it's Duelosaur Island. I was more hyped up about Dinosaur Island than maybe like any other game that I backed. I love the production. I love the color palette. I love that theme. I like worker placement. And it just didn't really work for me. And I tried it like 3 different times. Now I haven't given up on it. It's still in the collection. And maybe that's just because I don't want to give up on those metal coins. So if I get rid of it, I'm like, well, the coin's got to go. But I really liked Dinosaur World. And I really liked Dinosaur Island Roarin' Right. So when Giuliano from the Full 42 said, hey, I think Duelosaur Island is the best one of all of them, I was like, okay, sold. I'll go get Duelosaur Island. And again, I like the theme, the color palette, and all that. And I've liked World and the Roarin' Right. So I'm pretty excited to try a condensed 2-player version of this one. So yeah, I don't have a ton of hotness in here. A lot of these are older. I got a couple.
That's perfectly okay.
Yeah, hell yeah. I really like Dinosaur Island. I understand why Mike doesn't love it like I do. But I really enjoyed it. I did back the expansion and have yet to play it. It could have been It's not on it's not counted as my shelf of shame. Unplayed expansions I've not counted because that would add to my list. But I don't love Roll and Write, so Roll and Write has to be really, I don't know. The ones I do like, I really, really like quite a bit. So I'm kind of skeptical going to Roll and Writes, but I try to keep an open mind because you just never know what game is going to just be that one where you're like, oh, yeah, you're right. This is amazing. Like, I must have this. I must play this all the time. Let's go.
Well, you and I think, agree that Twilight Inscription was that Roll and Write.
Oh, man, that's one of my favorite
I still
ones.
need to play that.
Oh, my gosh.
It's good. It's really good.
It keeps staring me in the face at when I go to recess, and I'm like, I should get this because I love.
Oh, we got another buffer.
I gotta figure out if you.
You're back.
Did
no,
you mean
Arwen's
Imperium?
back.
You love, and then it cut out.
No, she likes Twilight. She wants to play Twilight Inscription, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I love Imperium. And I love Roll and Write. So like,
nice.
Poor Arwen. I feel so bad because I know what it's like to be the buffer.
No, you're good. I was late to the Roll and Write party. I played a whole bunch of new to me ones last year and found a ton that I love.
Yeah. It's wild how many good ones there are out there, and I can get not liking them. There's certainly a lot of people that don't, but I love Roll and Writes.
Well, this is why I'm full of crap though, Arwen, because I love Cartographers. I love one called Seven Bridges. I think it's I really enjoyed the Orleans roll and write that Mike had. Wasn't that yours, Mike? Didn't you have the Orleans?
Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc.
Mark, yeah.
Yeah, like that was
Pretty good.
solid. So there's a ton of Twilight Inscription was like my game of the year when that came out. I love that so much. And it was weird because it's like I say I don't like roll and writes. I love Gonchon's Clever, you know, things like that.
Great game.
Welcome to, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
well, Welcome to is one that I'm like, I don't care.
I love
I think she was going to say
Welcome to.
That was
you could put
Welcome to
in
was
front
a
of me and
previous
I'll play it any
own-
day of the week. It's great.
For me. I just had a group that it didn't work with, and I'm like, well, this won't hit the table much. So I moved on from that one. I enjoyed it actually. I would definitely play that one more.
my wife really likes it, so I play it. I think I just need to. I don't know. Maybe I need to play it more. But
The
Moon
one
is the best,
the
right?
moon is fantastic.
okay, you both at the same time.
Yeah.
That's just what I keep hearing, and I haven't played it. That's what everyone says. It's played it.
It's really good.
Ooh, I'm trying to mess with something real quick.
He's messed
Oh,
too
boy.
much is
He-
what he's
he-
done.
He done messed it up real good.
Yeah, he did. I was
Yeah.
about to go ahead and segue to his 8 because I think I got a dog that needs let out now.
Oh boy.
I tried to let her out before, but no, she's like, no, I only do this at like 9
Hey,
o'clock.
Dogs have needs, you know.
They have
That's
their
got
routines
my-
too.
Let's see, my little guy that's right up here. Charlie is
Yes.
Oh.
is our best boy.
What kind of dog is it, Mike? Do you need to go let Sushi out?
Yeah, I probably will.
Go do it.
We're
We'll
good. I
we'll
was gonna
fill.
get to your 8, but
Oh yeah. Wait.
can
What was
wait.
your?
my
was your
my
9?
9 was Dulasore Island.
Oh yeah. I'll do my 8. You'd be bored
Okay.
anyways. Okay, so while Mike is gone, this is the last one that is on theme. My number 8 is Frosthaven because, like you, Arwen, I have
You waited.
Frosthaven.
You waited until he left specifically to do that, Tim.
I feel like it was serendipitous. Yeah, I've got Frosthaven. I can't play Frosthaven till I play Gloomhaven. Can't play Gloomhaven till I play Jaws of the Lion. So, you know,
And Tim's number 7 is Buttons and Bugs.
Buttons and Bugs. I don't know what Buttons and Bugs is, but
It's little. So Buttons and Bugs is actually a little pocket version of Gloomhaven that was originally
okay.
a game called Gloomholden, and they basically took it and repackaged it. Nikki Valens worked with the designer, and they came up with Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, which is like the official version of Gloomholden with the Gloomhaven theme on it.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
was
so
gonna say, that's your number
that-
7.
that's my number 7. I'm now just the amazing thing will be figuring out how to make the rest of my list Gloomhaven related.
You're running out of.
Oh,
options.
real quick. I chose poorly. I should have ended with these. But no, I mean, I got Frosthaven again. Like I kind of, some of the legacy style games, I kind of feel like, you know what? Eventually I'm going to get to them. I'm going to have time. I'm going to be glad I have them, and I'm going to want to play them. Whether one of my kids decides that they want to play, and it's like, well, let's go. I got a group, you know. If it's not them, then one of my buddies, you know, will want to play. One of my friends, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so your strategy is kind of go with Jaws of the Lion first, and then
Yes.
step into Gloomhaven, and then do Frosthaven.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's funny because when we were like, oh, let's do a list of the 10, and I couldn't just put Frosthaven or Gloomhaven or Jaws of the Lion. I kind of felt like all 3 should be on, and then it was like it's cheating to put them all as one pick. So
Yeah.
they each warrant their own spot. I definitely will start to get into some other games that are not as daunting to bring out. My next one, maybe not so much, but like not as daunting to bring out. But I'm really excited to play. I think I got rid of my Founders of Gloomhaven. Let me look.
I
At
did.
myself.
I got rid of it.
I had it, never played it, got rid of it. I heard, unfortunately, terrible things.
Same.
And it was never getting to the table. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not that much of a completionist.
Well, and I tried to learn it solo, and that wasn't going well. And then I tried to learn it to teach people, and I still wasn't getting it. And I think when something's like that fiddly, that I'm willing to work towards something as long as the payoff's going to be good. And when that was in the back of my mind, that like the payoff to this is not that good, that you're going to get that value back out of, the time investment that you've put into actually learning this game, I just got rid of it. I said enough is enough, and did the whole flea market thing.
Yeah. So I have a question for you while we're waiting for Mike to come back. And in case he is interested in your number 8, I don't want him to miss it. But so like games on your shelf of shame, are there any of them that are there because you're like, it's not necessarily my favorite mechanic, but I was kind of interested in that? Or are there mechanics you favor or more excited or more likely to hit your table?
Yeah, so anything that's really got an engine builder, I'm usually pretty excited about. Area controls kind of hit or miss for me. And that gets to be, kind of problematic. I don't like take that games all that much.
Sure.
The really heavy, just mean spirited take that games. I know some people have said, well, you don't say negative player interaction, but in some instances, those games tend to be negative player interaction.
If I'm going to play take that game, it has to be with a group that I know is solid. I can't play that with strangers, right? Like I've got to play it with some of like my favorite people, and we've got inside jokes, and maybe we're bringing previous grudges into it, and that's part of the fun. But yeah, I'm not going to sit down at a table and play Munchkin, which is probably the ultimate take that game, with a bunch of strangers. Not interested.
I'm not going to play Munchkin, period, but that's a personal preference.
I'm with you though. I like to play mean games with people I know.
Yeah,
I don't like to play mean games with people I don't know.
No, not fun.
I'm with you.
Not fun. Yeah. Mike, my number 8 was Frosthaven.
Frosthaven?
Yep. You can leave. But now it's Arwen's turn, so please don't go.
Come back in, so eventually I will run again.
That's fine. You could leave when I do my number 7. It's not as
Our list is way more interesting than yours, so my timing is perfect.
Yeah, it was. It was.
We already confirmed they got rid of Founders of Gloomhaven, Mike, so it's all good.
It's not Founders, yeah.
It's all good. My number 8 is the last of the Lacerda. And yes, trash talk is definitely way more fun when the other person is having fun with it. Which again goes into the whole group dynamic of understanding who you're playing with and really having that good group.
There's a whole different level of experiences when you're with, people you're comfortable with.
Yeah, 100%. My number 8 is the last Lacerda that's left in my collection that I have yet to play. I did play Kanban EV earlier this year with a good friend of mine, and I had a great time with it. I also have the Gallerist and love that. So I am looking very forward to playing Weather Machine, which I got in from a Kickstarter, got, the full deluxe edition with all the Metal Gears and all that other good stuff. Coming from an engineering background in that, it just appealed to me so much. And I've heard nothing but good things.
Oh, it looks so cool. It looks so cool. I love the art. I mean, it's Ian O'Toole, right? That's another, another Yeah. Ridiculous.
Me and Bob actually tried to learn that one night, and it was one of those where it's like we're gonna have to come to this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I had to get through Kanban first and the Gallerist as well. And now I feel maybe I'm a little bit more prepared to go into this because his
mhm.
games are ridiculous to learn.
Yeah, yeah, those are like ones that I just want somebody to teach me. Like I just
Yep.
want to be lazy. I want to sit
Yes,
at the table. Can please somebody just
100%.
teach me how to play this game?
Yeah.
I can't. Kanban is one of those ones that I really want to learn. Like because the process of it, and I've heard it talked about so much, sounds so fascinating.
It's
And then
wonderful.
that EV, right? That's the updated
Yep.
streamlined version.
Yep.
And yeah, so the game's been on my radar for ages, anyways. And then they did this reprint where they, you know, streamlined it. And yeah, so gosh, yeah, great pick, great pick.
I really like the theme on that one. It's just a very, very unique theme. All right. So unlike Tim, who's sticking to the same theme with every pick, I'm actually trying to go with a different reason for every pick on my list. This one has been on my shelf of shame the longest. Tim and I have had many conversations about playing this. He's almost bought the new edition, and that's Clash of Cultures.
Oh,
Mm.
I almost buy this
I
all the
have
time.
had this game unplayed since I think 2017. That's how bad my shelf of shame is. Stuff just sits there. I know when I finally play this, I think I'm really gonna like it, and that's why I've hung on to it. I mean, it got reprinted for a reason, like everybody that talks about this game adores it. I do like epic dudes on a map 4X games. And yeah, this one has the potential to really become a favorite. I just got to get it played.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
That
And
tech tree in that game alone just has me excited to play it. Oh my gosh.
I just
Yeah.
need to bite the bullet, buy that damn game.
Well, Tim, I have it. We can just play mine.
I know. Here's my
I
problem.
don't sell mine.
Here's my acquisition disorder, like in full effect, where Mike's like, "Yeah, we need to play that," and I'm like, "Yeah, I need to buy that." Like, no,
Play it first.
Those things do not make sense.
Does not compute.
Does not compute. And we should get Charwood to teach us.
Well, hopefully, that's what I'm talking about, Chris. I don't have Monumental Edition. Yeah, I've got that first edition because it's 7-year-old copy. I think I got it on a Red Dot sale at Barnes and Noble. So, yeah.
Hey, I bought my Battlestar Galactica on a Red Dot Barnes and Noble sale. So,
I'm also guilty of like I learn a game and I get ready to play it, and then I don't get to play. And then like a few weeks go by, and it's like, how much of those rules do I still remember? Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. Just completely
and
gone.
Then like, oh, here's another opportunity to play that. Wait, do I want to relearn it? I'd have to relearn it to play it now. I've read this rule book, but do I remember all the rules? No.
No.
Not even close.
And that's another very, very good tip is actually play the game before you go and buy it.
Yes.
Whether it's on BGA, whether it's at a friend's house, whether it's going to the library if they've got a copy of it, which, some of these games you'll never find in a library probably. Going to a convention and sitting down with a group of friends and playing it, whatever you can do to play it first and really ensure that you like it is going to help with that shelf of shame, because to me, that was the biggest thing that I think that I've done to kind of help with that.
It helps.
I want that.
It helps when you have a group and other people.
It does. It does.
Yeah. That's it. Unfortunately, right? Like that's one of those games that just sounds very appealing and very interesting to me. And so like that old school compulsion to just acquire that game is there, right? That's one of those that it's like, oh yeah. And there's been one on our game store. So we film in the back of a game store when we're not doing it from our basements. And I see that like every Sunday when we go into film. And I see that, and Mike, if Mike's there, I'm like, oh, Mike, Clash Cultures Monumental Edition. Because I don't know how you are, Arwen, but like if I'm going to buy a version of a game and there's a deluxe edition and there's a regular edition,
you buy the deluxe
thank
edition.
You. Thank you.
Buy the deluxe edition.
Thank you so much. I feel so much better.
If you're going to do something, do it right.
Thank you so much. Okay, I feel good. I feel good.
You know, and that's been one of the big things with the Thunder Road Vendetta Kickstarter coming out. I'm looking at that, and $200 is a lot of money, but I have heard so many good things about that. And of course, it's an investment, right? So I've got to buy the full deluxe edition, right? Except I probably shouldn't before I play it. Am I going to get it played before that Kickstarter goes out? Probably not. So that's where they get you.
If I had the means, I would drive out there this weekend to play this game with you. I love Thunder Road that much. Thunder Road is it's stupid, chaotic fun. And now, you've got to be okay with things not going to plan.
Oh, I love that. But I absolutely love that.
Okay, so you're probably good. It's not a game for everybody that needs, you know, like I'm doing this and it's going to work this way and this is going to happen. No, you're going to do this. You hope that happens, but guess what? It may not. And sometimes you're going to do stuff and you're like, well, we'll just see what happens.
Kind of to your point, just very specifically. Well, I could move this car forward 3 spots, or I can move this one, run it into Tim and see what happens. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that. It's one of those games. It really is.
Yeah, it's wild. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Personally, I probably will be backing for the expansion. Because I just genuinely enjoyed the game that much. But it's definitely not for everybody. So I don't want to try to, I don't work for Restoration Games, anything like that. But man, Thunder Road is my favorite one of their games that they've put out. I have not played Unmatched, but I have played Return to the Dark Tower and, you know, some of their other ones. But anyways, Thunder Road is just chaos embodied. And also as a, I guess, child of the 80s, I loved Mad Max and I loved the Tom Hardy one. You know, I look forward to
fantastic.
That was so
Furiosa.
Good. And
Furiosa looks amazing.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Absolutely looking forward to Furiosa. Just like, let's just get more movies in that universe. They don't always have to be Max, right? Like,
please and thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Donnie, you hurt my heart. I love you so much, Donnie. I love you so much. Galaxy Trucker is so much fun.
Only played the app, but it was a blast.
So Donnie, if you haven't played it by QSCon, we will play it at QSCon. We will get that off your shelf of shame, Donnie. Okay. Arwen, in case you didn't know, QSCon is our friend, Michael Giuliano from Third World Studios. He organizes a convention in Syracuse, New York, called QSCon. And it's just kind of like a sit and play games convention.
God, I miss those.
I know, right? I know. I hardly get to go to those anymore. Last one I went to was like Geekway to the west. And that was, again, before I was a content creator.
When abouts is that? Because that sounds interesting, and that's like adjacent to my old stomping grounds. So. Oh,
right on. Yeah, September, right, Mike?
Yeah, it is September 20 through 22nd in Syracuse.
Arwen, remind me. I'll send you the deets. If that's something, I mean, that'd be a great opportunity to play games.
No, because I'm going to Dragon Con this year, as far as I know, and that sounds interesting. And I can swing through Buffalo and Rochester, I can visit my family, I can get a garbage plate, and then go play board games, and that sounds like a wonderful time to me.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
pretty stupid excited about it. We're gonna get to game with several people in this chat right now. So
That's awesome.
Is Reed going? If Reed's still watching, Reed, let me know if you're going to QSCon. I love Reed anyways, but
it is. I thought that was local-ish for him.
I mean, it kind of is, right? It's just across the
3
border.
to 4 hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Something like that. He's in what, Toronto area? So
Yeah,
it's too far for him.
He needs to be there. Listen, I'm gonna be there. If I'm gonna be there, he needs to be there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Diana, it is totally official. I've got the VIP tickets purchased. I've got the hotel block thing done, and I'm actually taking the whole week off, and I'm doing a road trip. And there's actually going to be some vacation stops in upstate New York on the way. I cannot wait. Yes, you do go through Ohio to get to New York. That was correct. I'm not going around.
Like, you gotta go through Cleveland, right?
Yes.
Just saying.
We're right off of the toll road in Indiana. So yes, we go right through Cleveland.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, I live like 2 miles from the Notre Dame campus. So if anybody knows where that is, that's where I am. Hence all this stuff, because I love Notre Dame and a bunch of my family members went there. Not that I'm a practicing Catholic or anything, but I do love college football. Anyways, yeah, like any good Catholic, I'm a lapsed Catholic. That's what I say. Anyways,
let's get your number 7, and I'm gonna let the dog back in while I miss that it's another group.
Oh, you'll be mad about this one.
Oh no.
That's all right. Go for it.
All right.
So one of Mike's favorite designers is John D. Clare, and I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure my number 7 is a John D. Clare game, and it might be his largest one, and that is Edge of Darkness. Like right as I was saying it.
I was looking at it on your shelf.
It's intriguing.
I'm like, that's Edge of Darkness.
Yep.
And I have that, and I have played it.
Ooh. So thoughts?
Love it. I absolutely love it. It feels like it is closer to what Mystic Vale wanted to be.
Okay.
Where Mystic Vale is very simplistic and, just a nice, light, breezy deck builder. That, for me, felt more like, like
the full experience.
Mystic Vale was kind of pared down, and Edge of Darkness was a much more like full experience.
Nice.
Plus this Cube Tower. I mean, how do you go wrong with Cube Tower?
Oh, it looks so cool. It looks so freaking cool.
There's card crafting and a Cube Tower in Edge of Darkness?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I know you don't like John D. Clare that much, so I was really glad you walked away.
One of my favorite designers.
So good.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Cubitos and Ready Set Bet. I enjoy Space Base. I've not played Dead Reckoning yet. And I've only played Mystic Vale on Steam, but I really enjoy that one. So I want to play more of his card crafting games with a little more depth.
I actually I think Arwen kind of nailed it. I really, really, really enjoyed Mystic Vale, but like kind of wanted more. But I really loved, like, I was so enamored with what it was doing, right? Like conceptually, like nothing is doing what Mystic Vale is trying to do. So yeah, Edge of Darkness was sort of a no-brainer when it was on Kickstarter. It's like, what? Now, unpopular opinion, I don't love Space Base. I like Machikoro better. I know that's controversial. I'm sorry, Arwen. We went from being like super close to being very good friends to now.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yeah, Tim's pretty cool. And then
give me
Space is my number 1 of all time.
Yeah, give me 5 minutes. I'll ruin that.
Oh wow.
Okay, good. Number 1 of all time.
For me, Space Base, I felt like it overstays its welcome a little bit for me personally. But I like other games that are similar, which is why I'm a walking contradiction. because I really do like Machikoro. And Machikoro, honestly, a lot of people that liked Machikoro will play Space Space and go, this is the better version of that game. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that, see, like even Chris, right? Machikoro sucks, right? I like Machikoro fine. Space Space, I struggled with. But I love Cubitos. I love Ready Set Bet. I did not like End of the Empire. Is that the newest John D. Clare one?
Empire's End.
Empire's End.
I love that game.
Oh, I did not like that one. I'm so sorry, Arwen. But here's the thing: is I appreciate what it was doing. I just did not have fun playing it.
I have an affinity for games that are painful and hurt. And that game hurts.
Oh, it does. It hurts so bad.
Every decision that you make is painful and frustrating and awful, and I love it for that.
Oh, it's terrible. It's every decision is so awful. It's like, well, which one sucks less? I
hate that I agree with Tim on this one because it's a great game. Like it's no issues with how it's designed or the art style or anything. It's just beautiful. Not for me. I don't
just not some people's cup of tea.
My thing crumble, and it's just which thing do I want to crumble less? That's just not a thing I typically enjoy.
I don't like Agricola kind of for the same reasons. You know, I call Agricola Misery Farm.
A lot of people do.
Yeah. I didn't come up with that. I glommed onto that.
But it's true. So, I mean, that's why a lot of people say it's true.
But I love Caverna, right? And it's sort of a similar concept, but Caverna gives you so much more room, you know, to sort of move around.
Yep.
And Empire's End, you don't really have that room, you know. And I think I've been learning about myself as a gamer is I like having a little bit of flexibility, you know, and especially in a game where like randomly just crap is going to get destroyed. I like having a little bit of flexibility going, okay, well, I can live with this, and this turn won't totally trash my strategy that I've been building for. Because honestly, I'm probably just not good enough of a gamer to recover from something like that all the time, where when I can be on my feet, I feel like I do pretty good. But
so stand up and play it then, Tim.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Mike.
I like to take things literally as a joke.
You should.
I love it from the standpoint that it pummels you into the ground, and you just have to deal with it the best that you can.
It really does. It
is it's so frustrating. And I feel like I used a meme to tag Brotherwise in, because we did a play of it on a live stream while the Kickstarter was going on. And I think it was like a meme of Data saying, I hate it. I want another one.
Oh, right. Right. Well, and the thing is as again, as a content creator, like I've really learned that to appreciate stuff that isn't for me all the time, but I see the appeal, right? Like I see this game, I see, oh no, this isn't the game's fault that I don't like it. This is like a personal preference, you know, sort of thing. But that game is really well made. It's really well designed. Everything like makes sense, and you can see the balance in it when you play it. And I would feel the same. I would say the exact same thing about Space Base. I see all of those things, and I'm like, yeah, like this is really. But like, give me the dumb version, and I'll play Machikoro. But you know,
grabs a drink.
And Evan, Portland Gamecraft, Evan, I like After the Empire better. Totally different game, but if you haven't played After the Empire, Arwen, it's pretty fun.
I haven't played that yet.
It's sort of I will butcher the description. It's one of Bob's favorite games, our friend Bob in the chat, and Evan, Portland Gamecraft is one of the designers of it. But it is sort of like a tower defense engine buildy kind of game. You're you've got this castle and you've got your castle walls, and the barbarian hordes are going to show up at different sides of it. And so you're shoring up your defenses, you're building up your walls better, but you've also got to like feed your soldiers, and you're going to send guys out to sort of attack the hordes. And oh, Andrew, Andrew picking on people that are his friends. But anyways, it's a pretty neat game. It's pretty interesting. It's I would recommend at least putting some eyeballs on it, see what you think.
Yeah, definitely.
And Andrew's got a game
ripping oven now.
Andrew's got a game with amazing art by Vincent Dutrait, Wine Cellar. I don't know if you know Andrew.
Yes. I've been seeing stuff for that online, and I am very intrigued by that.
I'm just saying, Arwen, if you're looking for guests to interview, I'll put him on the spot, but I would reach out to Andrew Stiles because that dude has got some stories and he's super cool and very smart. It'd be an amazing guest. He was an amazing guest for us. So yeah, just
especially when I play that game though too. I mean, it looks really, really good.
Oh, it looks so good. I can't wait. He was on our show. He was describing it, and I'm just like, can we have this now, please? I want to play it. I want to play it so bad. I don't even drink wine, and I want to play this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Andrew's a very, very cool dude, very approachable and very friendly. So strong recommend. All right, Arwen, it is your turn for your number 7.
So speaking of Catholicism, Tim.
Yeah.
My number 7 is a game by Amabel Holland, who is a designer that does some very different games and very different concepts. I love what she does. This is a game called Nicaea.
I've heard of this.
It is a game that you are arguing about the direction of the Catholic Church about how you're going to handle certain issues. And it doesn't matter what you decide. It doesn't matter. You don't get points for deciding one way or the other. You just have to side the most with the other players. And it looks like such a wild trip of a game. Amabel makes very punishing, frustrating games that, are almost kind of social commentary in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten more into them as time has gone on. And this one was like, I had been looking at buying it for a while. And then finally, during one of the recent sales, I just said, you know what, I'm going to grab this because I will get this to the table eventually. And it's definitely on my list. If I don't get it out this year, I definitely want to get it out next year because it is very intriguing to me.
Yeah, I love that idea. Nicaea, Nicaea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nicaea, I think.
Oh, AEA. Yeah, I was
there
so
we
close.
go. Yeah, that's why I was like, why can't I find this? I have not heard of this one.
Oh,
so
I've
I'm
heard
just
of this.
intrigued.
And I love stuff that goes after social commentary, social norms, social issues. I love things that push the envelope a little bit. Especially if it can make you, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but like at least question the belief structure maybe that you've grown up with, right?
Yeah, she's done a lot of games like that make you question, what values do you put in gaming? For instance, there's a game that Hollandspiel published that was about surviving in the Alaskan wilderness, and it's like, how well did you do that? It's up to you. It's not that everybody's going to survive, but how well did you kind of handle it, where there's almost no win condition except the one that you set for yourself.
Sure.
So I find that interesting. I find the social commentary, games that she does fascinating. I did episode recently about a game called Doubt Is Our Product, and that was
Oh, I loved that. That made your episode on that brought that game to my attention and makes me want to play that game so bad.
it's not a game that you're gonna get out to the table very much, but it's a game that you're gonna sit down with your friends and say, okay, first of all, we're gonna play this game.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably gonna hate it. You're going to, have feelings about this game, and then I want you to read through the supplemental material. And it's the first supplemental material that I have gone and actually read cover to cover, because she basically included different letters that were sent through internal memos of the tobacco companies and what their strategy was. And she is very, very harsh on the tobacco companies because she has a very personal history with them.
Well, but also, right, like what a interesting and horrible part of our history, right?
Yeah.
As Americans. And just because it's awful doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it. Actually, that probably means we should talk about it a little bit more.
Well, because it's repeating itself
I mean,
to
right.
this day.
Right.
And that's another thing that she wanted to reemphasize, was that we need to talk about this so that when things like this pop up, we know how to recognize them. We know how to deal with them, and we know when they come up.
Yes. Yeah. That again, I love stuff like that. It's on my shelf of shame. It's not on my list, but it really, really could have been, because it's technically a review game. So I didn't put it on my list. But Freedom, the Underground Railroad, it's an older game.
I want to play that so bad.
Again, right? Really hard, really difficult subject. But I love it. I bring attention to it. Let's talk about it. Let's go. So Doubt Is Our Product, right? Like great example of that as well. And again, board games like movies and music, and just art, all of these things can be conversation starters, for things going on.
100%.
And why should board games be exclusive, or be excluded from that? Anything that just educates people. Mike and I, we played a game for that was going to Kickstarter called Cartini, and it was about women being educated in, what was it, the Philippines, Indonesia. And it was about women, like their women's rights struggles in Indonesia, and them being able to become educated and go to school and do all these things. And it's all of these issues that we had no idea, right? Yep. Because we're just dumb Americans sitting in here, and we're learning our American history. And to get exposure to that stuff and learn about that. And so the game was a really good sort of engine buildy worker placement game, but then you could read the supplemental materials, just like you're saying. And you're like, holy shit, there's all these things I had just no idea.
No idea.
And it's very cool to just have your world blown up a little bit by that. So yeah, love it. Nicaea, I've got it written down. The Council of Nicaea, I know all about it.
I really appreciate these descriptions that don't take themselves seriously. So first, the main sentence at the top says, the formative political event of the early church, but with dumb jokes. Yeah. Then the first two sentences of the description at the bottom, it's the year 325, and it's a pretty chill time to be a Christian. Not only has it been a hot minute since they were forced to renounce their faith on pain of death, the Emperor Constantine has really leaned into it, hoping it will unite the often fractured Roman Empire. I just love those descriptions that don't take themselves too seriously. So I really appreciate that description. And that's just the first three sentences.
That's Amabella in a nutshell too. I mean, just shows anything like that. She just doesn't take herself too seriously. And I love her for that.
But that makes it so much more open and engaging, right? To like the casual person. Because now you're not like, you don't have to step into this game and go, well, I'm a monster because of my heritage. Like, no. Like learn. Like let's learn, let's adapt.
Yep.
It's great. All right, Mike.
I'm intrigued by that one. All right. So this one was recently acquired in a trade.
Ooh.
And I know a bunch of people will love to hear me talk about this one. And it's Asking for Troubles.
Oh, Asking for Trouble.
Asking for Troubles was designed by Christian Strain, one of the co-hosts of the Full 42. I've heard of this game since it came out. I have just never played it. So I traded a game to Giuliano and asked him if he would trade me Troubles. And sure enough, he did. So I hear that it's a very good entry level worker placement game that has some extra stuff going on. It's also a game that doesn't take itself too seriously. Has a lot of Easter eggs in it to the sci-fi universe that's out there. And yeah, the more I've heard people talk about this game, the higher my interest got. And yeah, all of the people in here that are fans of the Full 42 that have played it, well, all of them say, oh, what did I give up? They've all said really great things about this game. I gave up a Path of Light and Shadow. So that is the Jonathan Gilmour deck builder that was published by Indie Board and Cards. I think it's an interesting game. It can be tough to teach, and the combat can be fiddly. I really liked what it did, but I'm like I've played it 4 times, so I'm like, yeah, I don't know when I want to try and table this again. So it just made perfect sense to get one I was excited for.
No, I mean, anytime you can just get rid of a game and get one you're excited for is always a good choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Do it a lot.
Doesn't matter the game. If it's something you're excited to get your hands on, hell yeah, man.
It's just kind of more motivation. You get more excited about getting it to the table. It's still new to you. So it's like, oh, here's something that's been sitting for a while, or I just thought was okay. And here's something I'm excited about. So yeah.
So you want to hear a funny thing about me, Arwen, is that I almost bought Asking for Trouble 2 years ago at Gen Con. And they had everything. I was going to buy everything for it, but I knew Chris Strain and I didn't know him personally then like I do now. The designer was there at the convention. And he was working at that booth off and on. And every time I went to the booth, he wasn't there because I wanted to buy it. But when I bought it, I wanted to buy it from him and have him sign it. So I put off buying it. Then I never bought it and I missed my chance. I'm such an idiot. I should have just bought the damn thing.
And then I do want to say,
because now I'm friends with him and I can get it signed, no problem.
Exactly.
An idiot.
He had multiple copies of it, Evan. If not, there's no way I would have got it from him. But he still has a copy that you can see it behind him when he streams from his game shelf.
Yeah, I didn't trade you that good one.
No. But I am excited to play it, so that was worthy of the trade.
Yeah, it's an interesting looking game. I had never heard of it before, and I'm kind of fascinated by it.
I've not been putting up screenshots of the stuff we've been talking about. I've been enthralled in this topic, so I'm just skipping out on the visuals today, I guess. What's my problem?
So many problems. Hold on. I got a problem because I don't think I wrote down what my number 6 was.
Well, just figure out which Gloomhaven it is. You got time.
You got it, dude.
It was Edge of Darkness.
Oh, wait. Was that my 6 or my 7?
That was your 7.
Oh, that was your 7.
Yes, we are moving. And yes, Tim, my number 6 was Asking for Troubles before you asked. All right, Tim's number 6.
Okay, just being sure that I didn't, because I wrote down numbers and I circled them. Okay, my number 6, real easy. For those of you that watch the show, you know that I do love me some horror movies. One of the amazing things about horror movies is that it is a fun way, like science fiction movies, to provide social commentary without being super obvious about it. People don't always realize that they are being subverted that way. It's very punk rock. So my number 6 has to be Night of the Living Dead, the Zombicide game, because that was one of the first horror movies that I loved. I do really enjoy me a Zombicide, especially once they fixed the rules about shooting into a crowd. So Arwen, you're familiar with Zombicide, right?
Oh yeah, I've got a copy.
So OG Zombicide, if you fired into a crowd, you hit the heroes first and then you hit zombies, which makes no damn sense.
Nope.
The misses, which they fixed with Black Plague, the misses should hit the heroes and the hits should hit the zombies. Logical. Anyways, I have had this copy of Night of the Living Dead, which I specifically only got because I, again, am a horror movie fanatic. And love George Romero. But yeah, I mean, it's got two different like versions. You can play like the black and white, and then you go to the color version, and then it's like because things change, because like you're like zombie, like in the movie, Barbara, who is like the girl at the very beginning, when her brother shows up, like she loses her mind as a zombie, right? When her brother shows up as a zombie, she loses her mind. So you've got like, this game has like aspects of that where there's different things where like if certain people show up as zombies or spawn as zombies and they come at you, then you're now, you know, having to deal with that extra thing. Anyways, I could have had Marvel Zombies on here. I didn't kickstart it, but I did acquire a copy of Marvel Zombies. I am also a comic book nerd, so that could have been a thing. But yeah, I'm going with the Night of the Living Dead version because, again, horror movie fan. Let's go, embrace it, embrace who you are, right?
Exactly.
And not be ashamed of it. So that is on my shelf of shame. I'd love to get it played, and yeah. And it'd be really easy to paint because you could do like the black primer and then that stone wash dry brush over it. And now they look like black and white characters.
Yep.
And as somebody that is famously a terrible painter, but loves games with miniatures, perfect for me. So
I am also a horrible mini painter. Like if I had examples here, I would bring them up. I have two notable examples of why I don't do mini painting, although my friend Jamie Daggers says that I should get back into it, and she's going to teach me someday. So we'll see.
You know what? I've always heard the more you do it, the better you get, right? And everything. And it's just dedicating that time to it.
Like with anything.
For sure. For sure. But yeah, I won't spend a ton of time on it. But my number 6 will be Zombicide, Night of the Living Dead.
So my number 6 is a deluxe version that came from the Steffenfeld City Collection that was put out on Queen Games Kickstarter. I'm a big Steffenfeld fan, and that is Marrakesh. I was disappointed in Amsterdam. I paid $800 to get the deluxe, like everything version of the City Collection. I played one of the games so far, so you know that shows you about how engaged I've been with it. But Marrakesh has been kind of like my next go-to want to play games. It's got a cube tower again, you know. How can you go wrong with that?
It's so good.
Yeah,
I love cube towers.
So satisfying. But it's one of those games that I heard it was the best of the bunch. And I heard that it was well worth the upgrade. So I'm interested to play it. I'm interested to see exactly what was done with it. And hopefully it's Steffenfeld that lives up to his legacy. I've had a couple of those recently that weren't that great in Amsterdam, and then La Isla. Both were kind of disappointing. So
Feld is my favorite designer. and it's not even that close. I own, I think, 13 of his games now. So one will make this list because there was no way I was doing a list without putting a Feld game on it. Every chance I get, Feld makes the list. Marrakesh, I did buy and play. It is fantastic.
Oh, good.
It's so much easier to play than it seems like it's going to be. Like you're reading it, you're like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. But the turn sequence is really basic. It's just
Now,
all these things that can cascade from the actions that you've chosen. But like
now,
performing your turn, very simple.
Arwen, do you have color issues?
I do. I do.
Mike,
That's a
is
good
this
thing
the
to
one?
bring up.
Is this the one that Bob had a hard time with?
12 different colored issues.
And
Now, what they do, however, which can help, but still extra mental overload to make it work. So you drop the cubes into your cube tower. At the bottom of the cube tower, all of the colors have an icon, and you're supposed to sort them based on the color and icon. That those caches are going to go on your player board where that icon is also in the section that they go to. But I can still see how it's a big mental overload because it's 12 different colors that are getting dropped in there.
Mm.
And you're going looking at that icon to this icon here. We even tried because Bob is our colorblind guy of the group, and he said he liked it, but said it was just a lot of extra to keep track of because color is so important in the game.
Yeah. And color vision is definitely one thing I like to incorporate in my reviews because I do have color vision
You
issues.
should. You
and
should.
we bring it up because it was something that I was ignorant of until playing games with my buddy Bob.
Yep.
And then it's like, holy crap, I don't even think about this stuff. You take it for granted.
100% affects your ability to play the game.
Oh,
And
it
companies
absolutely
have
does.
shown how easy it is to make games color friendly. And so it's like it really isn't that hard. It just takes icons. This one did the icons, but there's just 12 of them
Yeah.
each time,
It's just a
and you're
lot.
sorting them each time. Yes, and instead of hearing it from me, yeah, it's I know he likes to mark
Yeah.
his games if he enjoys them and they're staying in his collection. He'll mark them, whatever it takes to make them easier to play, and absolutely, I would do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
there's
absolutely, every reviewer that has color issues should mention it because these companies can fix this really
easily. Yeah. And hopefully Bob has heard of Brian Chandler, who I want to give a shout out to, who does a lot of wonderful work in the color vision accessibility area. But yeah, it's just one of those things that companies still to this day don't grasp how much of an issue it is for players to have to deal with it and how simple some of these fixes can be. I've had games where I just could not play them because of color vision issues, and there's no shame in marking them up. I'm glad to hear that Bob is games up because these should be accessible for everybody. If I have a game that I really like that does give me issues, I will absolutely mark those components up. And some people will ask me like, hey, what why does this have this weird marking on it? And it's like, it's just to help me see and just make sure that I can access everything too.
Yeah, no, it broke my heart because when Scoville came out, that is a game that I loved. And I'm like, Bob, you will love this game. And he literally can barely play it.
Yep.
Because of the color stuff. Trick or Treat Studios is doing a reprint of it. I believe it's going to come out this year. And they've totally changed it by making it icon centric. So that the different peppers are going to have different icons. So it's because I'm friends with somebody from Trick or Treat when they said, oh, we're going to redo Scoville. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. It's too bad that it's not colorblind friendly. And he's like, oh, hold on. And he took me over to one of their designers, right, who like helped tweak it a little bit, and they talked to me about how they were fixing that issue so that it's friendly for everybody. And
That's
I was
awesome.
so excited. I'm like, I cannot wait. The second this game comes out, I cannot wait. Please get this game to me.
Yeah.
Because I know people that will love this game that just had zero access to it because literally the peppers, they don't jive, they just they don't look what they need to look like for them to be able to play the game. And yeah, so anyways,
it is disappointing to hear that you didn't like Hamburg, because that's a re-theme of Bruges. I played that one once years ago. I was like, okay, this is good, but I didn't like rush out and buy it. And
Yeah.
since that game went out of print, all I've heard about is how good Bruges is. And I'm like, well, I guess I got to go get it now or go get Hamburg.
So I haven't played Hamburg yet. I didn't like Amsterdam.
Excuse me. They're all based on European cities, so you can see why I throw them together.
Exactly.
Amsterdam is the one that's based on. Is that a new design? It's based on Macau. That's right.
Yeah.
None of those are new designs. They're all re-implementations.
There's a couple new ones.
Marrakesh was new.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I loved the mechanism in Amsterdam with the cube wheel. I thought that was so incredible. Mm-hmm. I just didn't like the game behind that mechanism, and I can't play a game simply for one mechanism. I have to have the whole package. So
it's got to be tied together.
It was unfortunate.
Yeah, Macau almost made this list. That's one sitting back here that I have not played, and that, what do they call it? Wind circle or wind? They have some weird name for that thing, but that mechanic alone intrigues me. And Chris, those games were not cheap. Like you said, $800 to get that series started with the deluxe on all of them.
I mean, we could do a whole show on like Queen's approach to Kickstarter as a pre-order system versus a actual crowdfunding system, blah, 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 whatever. But yeah.
I wanted to add a couple more though. Cusco, based on La Isla. I always thought La Isla punched way above its proof for how small the box is and for how light the rules are. There's a lot of game to that one. So that's Cusco. And then the other one is, what the heck did Bora Bora turn into? Nope, that's Cusco. See, they changed the names on them. And it's like I struggle to keep them straight.
Yeah, it's really strange, like the decision that they make to just not reprint them and deluxify them and clean them up a little bit, but they actively had to go and put new city names in, and it's just so confusing.
I have to wonder if that's like a rights issue or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it feels like there needs to be something else to it versus just reprinting it.
Yeah.
Second edition, updated edition, whatever.
I apologize. I keep getting mixed up, but La Isla became Vienna, and that's a really good game. I like that one quite a bit. And then it's Bora Bora is the one that turned into Cusco. That one is still a top 20 game for me. I absolutely love Bora Bora.
Bora is excellent. Excellent game.
Big fan. And Castles of Burgundy is probably going to be a permanent top 10 for me ever. It was one of the first ones I really dove into with Feld. It was like I was still fairly new to the hobby. I bought Castle of Burgundy, Trajan, and Bora Bora, and to this day I still love all three of those games. But they're confusing, and changing the names and the pricing of them. So I hope you find more in that series that you do enjoy, and I hope that the color issues don't ruin Marrakesh for you, because that game is really good.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Mike. So that's your number 6 now.
super happy to hear we got another Feld fan in the house. So I had to give you reassurance that there are good games in that city
yeah.
series.
Come on, Mike. You
Um,
know I only bring the most amazing guests on here ever.
My number 6 is a Thunderworks game that came out last year, and it's Dawn of Ulos. Um, I've been really excited about this game ever since I heard about it because one thing I like in games, and maybe because I like crunching numbers and I like determining value. I love games that give me a variable market or where the worth of items changes throughout the game. And I have to forecast what value what value of a good is going to be at a certain point of the game. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Well, I better dump my resources or my stocks, and that's what Dawn of Ulos does, but it's packaged as a territory control game. So you're kind of spreading your guys out. And then as soon as tiles from different factions touch, we have a battle. And then the value of those faction cards you have in your hand are going to start to change. I'm super interested in the concept of that game. I've read the rule book. I'm ready to get it to the table, and I just haven't.
We'll get it played.
It's so good. It is so incredibly good.
I saw Arwen's face when you said the title,
Yes.
and I was like, "Oh, this is a good one." All right.
It really is. It's everything that I wanted Acquire to be, and
Nice.
it's deceptive when you look at it on its surface because I didn't know what kind of game to expect. You know what kind of game to expect. You've done your research. It was mind-boggling for us when we played it, and we're like, yeah, this game is great. We had a fantastic time with it.
I'm a big fan of that role player universe too. I love role player and cartographers. And so when I saw they were going to do territory control with basically stock elements, it was a first day back for me. I have the deluxe, the metal coins, got all the
Same.
goodies. I can't wait to play that.
And we really like Keith Mateka a lot. Like so.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Keith's good people.
All right. I'm glad to hear I got some good feedback on one of these here. I was hoping for that to happen. Like somebody says, yeah, that's good. You need to get that to the table. So awesome. Let's get to number 5.
Well, look, I'm the only one that's going to be excited about this one, and I'm fine with it. This is a game I picked up at Origins 2 years ago. I really, really, really want to play it because I like this kind of game. It's called Giga Robo. You're playing these giant mech robots, and you're, throwing each other around, and that's kind of it. I like GKR heavy hitters. I enjoyed that game quite a bit. From Weta Workshop. Ooh, I can show you a poorly painted miniature from Giga Robo because I got some nearby. But yeah, your big mechs. I did actually paint this. You can't tell because it's low def. You can't really see it super well.
Yeah, and because it looks decent.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But this was a game where I was, again, like so many of us have done, we've walked around a convention hall and you're like, oh, this looks super rad. Like, what is this? And then, so you talk to the designer about it, and of course they're very passionate and, and everything. And I'm like, this looks super cool. I like this kind of game. And I legit do. But they're not always the easiest game to get to the table. Because you've got to have people that just want to play like a one, or I shouldn't say a one player. I was going to say 1v1 or a 1v1v1, kind of game. Again, not just like, hey, I'm going to show up to your house and what do you want to play? Oh, that looks fun. Let's pull that off the shelf. No. You're going to play a game like Giga Robo. You've got to say, hey, who is coming over to play this game with me? Let's play this. It's happening. I don't think the rules overhead is that hard or complicated, but there's just a lot of nuance to the game. It looks very interesting, very cool. I enjoy the art. I really enjoyed the designer story behind it. Obviously, I'm a sucker for indie designers and people that just put their heart and soul into these games. And this was one of those where it's like, this dude just loves this stuff. Like, he's clearly super smart, super brilliant, and just this is his passion. And it grabbed me and I got sucked into it. So it's just a game I'm very excited to play. And yeah, thanks, Chris, for being straight up with me about that. And yeah, giant mech robots is only slightly better than zombies. Andrew, I get it. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
I think all the themes that Andrew likes, Tim. Good
But
job.
well, so you want to talk about like origins of gaming, right? Like, I was a Warhammer gamer in the 90s and I played Magic the Gathering and then got out of those hobbies because I thought board games would be cheaper. I was wrong. But you know, because board games, there's always another board game, you know, just like in Warhammer or Magic, there's always a new set coming out or a new army you're trying to build. The irony of playing Warhammer is I couldn't paint for shit, but I just loved the strategy and the tactics involved. So games like Giga Robo kind of like sate or quench that thirst a little bit. But I just also now I just enjoy so many other types of games that, and I've seen such a wild and open world of gaming that's available that this is just one little piece of that pie. But yeah, Giga Robo is my number 5. I really want to get it off my shelf of shame this year. I really do. Just so I can at least say that I played it, I've done it. I painted all the, or I think I painted all the mechs for it because that was my excuse at first. I'll paint them first. Well, now they're all poorly painted and ready to sit on a table.
Now you just have to play it.
Right. I put that much time into it.
The look of that one, it does have a presence for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's got table presence.
I'm going to go backwards just slightly because this proves a point that we were making earlier. Yeah, there is another game called Cusco, and I'm familiar with that one, which is why it's so dumb to change Bora Bora to a city that already has a game named after it. Anyway, this
Hashtag Queen Games.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I'm shooting my shot there. I'm sorry.
I have so many mini rants on them scattered through our episodes that Tim's right. I could do a whole episode on that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Proves my point.
100%.
No doubt.
That's all I have to say about that.
All right, Arwen, what's where are you at?
I'll play nice. My number 5 was a birthday gift that I got last year. My friend Maddie sent it to me. We had a big birthday bash up here like we usually do. I usually have my girlfriend throw a kind of Halloween birthday party for me because my birthday is on the 27th of October.
Perfect.
And invited a bunch of people, and some people actually sent gifts, which was super cool. But my friend Maddie sent me a game that was on my Amazon wish list for a long time, and that is the King's Dilemma.
I want to play this game so bad.
It looks so incredibly good. You know, and basically said, hey, you know, this is an amazing game. You know, you're trying to negotiate with everybody else at the table about what you're going to do in your kingdom. You're trying to kind of work together, but you're also looking to build up your family's influence. It is a legacy game. What you decide has impacts on future events that go on. It seems like such an amazing game. And I'm looking forward to playing it. It's just the matter of finding the right group to do it with. I think it is a little bit too long to kind of do during one of those convention sessions. You know, but I think it's like a 12 session kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit too long to get out during that. But yeah, at some point soon, it's definitely on my priority list.
Yeah,
This
that's
game went on a ridiculous sale late last year, and I almost snatched it up because
same,
of some stories I've heard about this one.
same,
I love
same.
the whole concept of trying to influence people's votes and then knowing that that can change how the game plays for the rest of the campaign. That's super fascinating to me.
Super wild.
Really good pick.
Same. Oh, what a great pick.
Yep, that one's interested me for a while. All right, I got another really old one. Well, they reprinted it, but the version I have is the super old one. And somebody actually sent this to me as a gift. And this is Rococo.
Oh,
And Rococo, I've always heard amazing things about it. They reprinted it. They made a much better looking version. And someone I know got the new version and sent me the old version. I know it's a theme about making dresses, but theme doesn't make or break games for me. I want to play this game because everybody talks about it and it's got deck building in it. Arwen, it sounds like you've played it.
Just a couple times, yeah.
oh, yeah. I love it. I love it.
It is. So I played both versions of it. The newer version is definitely prettier. But it is essentially the same game. It's fantastic. It's a really really amazing game. I haven't played Predator yet. That was kind of, I talked about my number 11 game, so Predator is like my number 12 that I'm looking to get off the shelf of shame. But it is Rococo is just an outstanding game. I love the deluxe edition because, again, it's deluxe, and Eagle Griffin did a fantastic job.
Oh my God, Eagle Griffin.
Just over the top, amazing. It is an outstanding game worth at least one play. I don't think it's going to be for everybody, probably because of the theme. But if you can get over the theme, if you're not a huge fan of it, definitely a great game. I love the theme. I thought that the theme was great, but I know that not everybody's in that camp.
I love wild and unique themes to games, and that's the great thing about board games. You know what I mean? You can play back-to-back games. In one game, you're Vikings playing, taking over, different areas and territories and blah, blah, blah. And then next game, you're making dresses, or you're playing Belle of the Ball and you're courting suitors, you know what I mean? And trying to move up in the popularity. And you can do those games in the same day and have just as much fun. I mean, It's awesome. Love it.
And besides, we don't need every game being about medieval combat and space wars and things like that. We do need to diversify a little bit.
We can, we can step away from a little bit of that, right? Every once in a while.
It's not to say that those are bad themes, because I do like those as well. For
sure. Room for everybody.
No, I'm with Tim. I like trying to find stuff that has unique themes too.
100%.
There's a lot of stuff that's just been done over and over and over, and it's interesting to find games that use very unique themes for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, let's hear your number 4.
Okay, so number 4 I've owned for ages and ages. I scooped it up super cheap. I've never played the game Kingsport. I've heard it's great, but guess what? I like horror stuff, so I own Kingsport Festival, which is the Lovecraftian version. Still haven't played, but I've heard it's great. Actually, I have taken this game to meetups and seen other people play my copy of the game that I've never played, and they've had a great time. So I'd love to get this off my shelf of shame. Again, Lovecraft, right, got his own issues, but you can still appreciate what the mythos and everything that was introduced. Kingsport Festival, I'm excited to play it. I will not get rid of this game until I play it at the very minimum. But I have a feeling I'm going to like it. So I probably won't even, get rid of it at that point. Because it just seems like it does everything I love. I've heard people talk about both versions glowingly. So Kingsport Festival is my number 4.
I have not played the Lovecraft version of it, but I have played the regular version of it quite a few times and love it every single time that I play
Perfect. Sounds like I'm good.
So there's some great games on this list.
Yeah,
definitely. I played Kingsburg a couple times years ago.
Oh, is it Kingsburg, not
Kingsburg.
Kingsport? My
That's
bad.
right.
My mistake.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. But I didn't play with any expansions. It felt a little samey to me, but I know expansions can certainly add more variety. So
I'm just dying to get mine to the table. I've had it for ages.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I have heard that the Lovecraft version is considered by a lot of people to be kind of the better version of it because it does add a little bit more into it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. It's one that's on my shelf of shame too. So
Kingsburg or Kingsport Festival?
Festival.
Hell yeah.
Because
on.
Kingsburg I've played quite a few times.
Right.
But,
yeah, you said that.
But Festival, I still have yet to get to the table for some reason.
Well,
my number 4 is one that's been in my collection for quite a while. I bought it probably 2015-ish. And that is Eclipse: New Dawn for the Galaxy.
Oh no, Mike. Keep going, please.
I have not gotten this to the table at all. I thought that maybe 4X games weren't necessarily going to be, space combat and whatnot wasn't going to be my thing. But, I enjoy Twilight Imperium. I've heard that it's kind of a lighter, easier kind of version of that plays in a little bit less time. So I'm looking forward to getting that to the table at some point.
Mike, is this the one you played?
Yeah. So my dirty confession is I haven't played Twilight Imperium. Shame on me, but
I love Twilight Imperium.
It'll happen. And Eclipse Second Dawn, I really expected to love that game, and I want to play it more. It fell a little flat for me. I didn't necessarily like the combat mechanic because you have to roll a 6 to hit. And then it's just take turns trying to roll 6s. So I think that drags things out. Now that's where the techs come in. You improve that, then 5s hit, then 4s hit. And even the way the scoring is done on combat was a little weird, but I think I was frustrated because I did not get very good exploration luck, and you really got to find some planets early that provide the resources your faction needs that you can get that kind of engine going to buy the techs that you want. That just didn't happen, so I struggled to get anywhere in that game, and that's probably part of why I was frustrated with it.
And some of it is
play it again.
You came in very hyped for that, and then sort of maybe had a, to say it nicely, extremely suboptimal experience on your first go when you're very hyped, and you're like, oh, so it's kind of an extra sour experience. But I've only ever played Eclipse via the app. But yeah.
No, I think it's obviously a great game, or it wouldn't have been
100%
highly touted as it's been for as long as it's been, and then reprinted with all the amazing stuff they put in that box. And I'm not going to give up on either. One subpar experience doesn't make me go, oh no, I'm going to hate that game forever. That's just not me. But good pick. I hope you like it, especially if you like Twilight Imperium.
Which I did.
Okay, my number 4. I did say I'm a big fan of racing games. Cubitos and Heat are two of my favorite games of all time. And I have not played any of the Rallymans, and I have GT and Dirt. So take your pick. I have started to play it on BGA though, and I don't log those plays, and it's really good. The way they do the dice mechanic is so interesting because each die represents a gear that you're shifting into, and so every die is an additional place you can move down the track. So you play your 1, then your 2, then your 3, then your 4. Of course, that makes sense. But then you get to a turn, and it says, "Well, you can't go faster through this turn than 4th gear." So you're like, shoot, okay. Well, I'll play my 1, then my 2 die. I'll use my boost die to get up to a 4, but then I'll downshift to 3, then use the coast dice to stay in 3rd gear to get through that turn. These are kind of some of the decisions you're making in this game. And these are all dice. So after you've placed your dice and you've committed to what you're playing on that turn, you have 2 choices. You can roll them one at a time, and they will either give you blanks or a hazard. If you get 3 hazards, your car spins out and you don't get to play all of those dice. You stop wherever you roll that 3rd hazard and your turn's over. Or you can go flat out, which means you roll all of the dice at once. If you don't roll the 3, so push your luck, which I love. If you don't roll the 3 hazards, then you get to go your full turn. Every die you roll gives you this lightning resource that you can use to lock in dice on future turns so you don't have to roll them. So it forces you to do that flat out thing a few times early. So later in the game, when there's more on the line, you have stuff to lock in your dice and you don't risk spitting out. It's a really, really good dice rolling game. I just happen to really like racing, even though I don't give a crap about racing in real life. I just like racing games. But I got Dirt first because Holy Grail went out of business. I was like, I
Yeah.
better buy this before I can't find it. And then GT went on a ridiculous sale late last year, so I bought it. And then the tutorial on BGA for this game is actually pretty good. So I learned it that way, and I like it a lot. I just need to play the real version.
Nice.
That is one that I probably will play on BGA, but I did request a copy of that from Flat River because I've been so interested in it. So
Nice. Very good.
Yeah, I enjoy GT a lot. I don't specifically know. Um, yeah, spend those lightning. You don't get to save them. So yeah, spend them. Lock in those dice instead of just rolling and taking the risk. Yeah, Bob beats me all the time because I play it poorly. Uh, but yeah, yeah, dice rolling and racing just really works for me. So, and I don't totally know what Dirt does different. So I need to kind of dive into that and figure it out. All right, wow, we are on to number 3.
All right, number 3 is super easy because I love history. I love contentious parts of history, and I don't know, I love controversy and scandal and things that make you reevaluate what you thought was okay. My number 3 is Watergate. It is a 2-player game. Honestly, I mean, you could look at parallels from the Nixon administration and maybe things that are going on in politics nowadays. And it's just really interesting. And Nixon really set a precedent for presidential politics moving forward, unfortunately, for the worse, way worse. But yeah, Watergate, super cool. You were either playing as the Nixon administration or you are playing as what reporters from the Washington Post, where you're trying to uncover the Watergate scandal. And I have been told many times that this is a great game from many people. I just bought it at Gen Con last year. I think it was Gen Con, maybe Origins. One of those conventions run together after a while. But especially when you work the whole time at them. But anyways, super excited to play Watergate. It is a pivotal point in American history, especially in recent American history. And that I think that people just forget. And so what a fun way to shine a light on that, right? And it's fine to play as the bad guys, right? Because that's also going to give you their perspective. You're going to understand the mechanisms and understand why they're doing what they're doing, right? And so again, just really excited about the game. Love the idea of the theme. Love the historical nature of it. You know, from people that I know that love this game, this is a game made for me. Like, I just can't wait. I can't wait to play it. I look forward to playing it on either side. It kind of reminds me, Arwen, I don't know if you played Campaign Trail. Was that 2008? It's where you're playing Obama versus McCain.
Okay.
It's a 2-player game, and you're basically trying to convert the states and get enough electoral votes. And it's just a really neat like slice of history. And I love that kind of stuff in board games because it really, in a sort of subversive way, really gives you a lot of perspective on stuff. And so anyways, Watergate's my number 3 for all of those reasons. Nixon is one of my favorite monsters of history. And yeah, anyways.
Andrew already touched on what I was going to, and I've got to bring up Votes for Women.
Hell yes. This is what I need to play. Yeah, I need to play this.
It's outstanding. Watergate is also fantastic. It is an outstanding game.
Good deal. Good deal.
Really,
and
really
thank
good.
you, Andrew, for reaffirming also you, Arwen, for what I have also heard about Votes for Women. Heard it was amazing.
100% worth checking out because it is just so good. And like, again, the supplemental materials are so interesting to look at from the historical context of it. My number 3 is a game that I tried to play solo, and it has like a 20-step like flow chart as to what you need to do, and I said no. And that is Batoku.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this one's intimidating as hell.
The flow of the game doesn't seem that bad if you're playing it multiplayer, but if you're trying to get it out solo, I play a lot of solo stuff. I play with a lot of different Otoma and can, pretty much handle myself. Like I'm fairly decent at it. This scared me. Looking at this, I was like, I had it set up, I was ready to go, and then I'm like trying to follow this flow chart, and I'm like, no.
Just do this.
Yeah.
That's all you. Yeah.
So
wow.
So when you do set it up and you look at it and you start playing around with things do start to make a little bit more intuitive sense. But it is intimidating, like you said, Mike. It's just intimidating to get to the table to, get those first couple of turns done. But it's a beautiful game. It's gorgeous. It's just getting it to the table and getting, people that are going to sit through that initial shock of just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is absolutely a video kind of game because that's how I learned enough to get it through to the table, but I still just couldn't get past that solo kind of decision tree that was going.
It looks so crunchy.
DeVere's really made some solid games here lately too.
They really have. I haven't played White Castle yet. I keep meaning to. But Red Cathedral is an outstanding game.
Red Cathedral not only looks beautiful, but looks fascinating as well. Yeah.
Lovely game.
I enjoyed White Castle. I try to keep the player count down, however, or it runs a little long.
Same.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it too. Yeah, that's a good pick. I've always been intrigued by this one, but yeah, again, just the intimidation factor. All right, let's go from one beast of a game to another. And this is another designer that just like can't miss. And I bought it from Tim. It's Barrage.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, this game is so good.
I mean, I only got this one from Tim a few months back. And yeah, I love me some Luciani games. I almost said Ticini. They sort of almost run together, unfortunately, because they've co-designed so many things.
We just
But,
call it the Italians. You just lump them all together. It's a
I
game by the
enjoyed Zolkin.
Italians.
Voyages to Marco Polo is pretty good. Grand Austria Hotel is amazing. I have Militum on the way. Darwin's Journey was fantastic, and Nucleum was fantastic. Those are just the ones I've played. So yeah, heavy work placement game that is considered one of his best. Yeah, sign me up. I bought it from Tim, and I can't wait to table it.
And the only reason I let it go to Mike was because I knew it would stay in the family. Like I still have access to it. It's a great game. I just wasn't getting it to the table. And I knew Mike really wanted it. So it's like, oh, I can still play that game kind of whenever I want. Because yeah, Barrages. Oh, it's so good. It's so cool. I love that dam mechanic. That's my favorite part, is running the water through the dam. The production wheel is very cool. I appreciate that, but like watching the water flow is the most satisfying aspect of it for me.
That is another one that I tried to get out on BGA, and to your earlier point, it's difficult to learn.
Oh, it's crunchy as hell.
I think I need to see it on the table and kind of get those mechanisms flowing before, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Before I really understood like exactly what was going on. I think that's a table learn.
Yeah.
It's a 4.1 on weight.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really satisfying. It's really good. Yeah, Chris, I will keep my thoughts to myself on Darwin's Journey.
And just out of curiosity to go back, Patoku's a 3.7. That's a little lower than I thought.
Oh. By Barrage comparison or standards, it's damn near a family weight game.
Well, no. Yeah, both I keep hearing great things about them. All right, Tim, let's do our top 2.
All right, so Andrew can like go ahead and tune out. I apologize. He says we don't need any more war games. Here's the thing: is I love some Martin Wallace, and he did a reprint on Kickstarter of Struggle of Empires a few years ago, and I backed with Bob. Bob and I backed this to save on shipping because he's got a deluxe version and I've got a deluxe version, which is probably a folly because we would probably play this game together. And so we probably only needed one of them. But anyways, this is like European wars. You're building fleets and armies, but you're also building up an economy, and you can't like expand too much because you'll be at risk of like civil wars or revolutions and things like that. So there's like all of these really interesting things that kind of like all tie together and make this really neat balance that I've never played. But I just think it's really cool. I love it conceptually. I would love to get this game to the table, but this is going to be like a Saturday. Everybody come over at noon. I will buy pizza. I will have beer, and we will be here. Prepare to be here till like 6. Like we're going to play this game. It's going to be a long game. And yeah, so Bob and I have been playing a game, Skull and Bones, where we're pirates online together. But yeah, Bob's just gathering dust too. I feel a little bit better. But yeah, Struggle of Empires. It's just I don't know. Conceptually, I love the idea of it. It sounds very interesting, very cool, but it's not a casual play, right? So taking the time that that I will need to do to learn it, be able to teach it, so then I can have other people come over, and I would probably even send people links to videos that I found useful and be like, please watch this. Like just give it like 15 minutes of your time, do like a tiny bit of homework before you show up to play, so that maybe it speeds it up a little bit, or you're not as lost as we go. So games with sort of that homework, tend to be a little more daunting, a little more intimidating. Definitely not for everybody. And not always for me, like I have to build myself up, gear myself up for that kind of game and be like, all right, here we go. I'm ready. And, but I would, go in prepared, and I wouldn't just, blindside people, with something like that. But it's a game that sounds fascinating to me. I've had it on my shelf of shame for ages. So I'd love to get it played. So Struggle of Empires by Martin Wallace. It's not the only Martin Wallace game on my shelf of shame, but it is the one that I'm most eager to pull it off. I have I've never played Brass. Okay. His most famous game. I have the original version of Brass. I do not have the new Roxley games, beautiful Brass Birmingham, London. I don't even know what the difference is between those. I'm like, how do you take one game and you change it into two? I do not understand that. I cannot wrap my primitive brain around that. But I do have the original Brass with the guy on the front, like, hey, like that. Haven't played. I've got like Moonga Invaders. Haven't played. I've got a few Martin Wallace games that I haven't played, but I really do like Martin Wallace as a designer. My favorite games of his are sort of the unconventional ones. Like I love Australia and Wildlands and things like that. Well, I also have Via Nebula on my shelf of shame. I haven't played, but this is not my Martin Wallace shelf of shame. This is Struggle of Empires, my number 2. So there you go.
I think the only Martin Wallace I've played has been the 2 Brass games, and one of the Brass games has been the guy on the front. It's and the weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked them both. I thought that they were fantastic. So, number 2 for me was one that Tim said that he got on a Red Dot sale, and I'm very jealous because I paid through the nose.
Oh no!
For my copy of it.
I know what it is.
That's Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, Arwen, this game's so much fun.
I had heard all the stories about it. I had, everybody seems to have a story with this game that they step away from it and they say, this is amazing. This is what happened during our playthrough. And it's like those stand-up moments tend to happen a lot with this game than a lot that I hear. And it is, exactly. And it's just one that has not made it to the table. It's so beautiful.
It's so good.
And the guy that sold it to me at Origins in 2018 at the flea market said, I never get this to the table, and that's why I'm selling it. It's a fantastic game. I just never get it to the table. Well, that's me 5 years later, 4 years.
The wonderful thing is you already own it. The hard part is done.
Yep.
The hard part is done. This game's really good. I love especially it's not overwhelmingly social deduction, but there's enough of it that like our buddy Bob does not love social deduction games, but he really likes Battlestar and like Unfathomable because it's not like the whole crux of the game, right? There's more to it. You can't just arbitrarily go, oh, Mike's the traitor, let's kill him, right? Mike's a werewolf, let's get rid of him. That's no fun. But yeah, these games, super good. I actually, agree with Chris that Unfathomable streamlines Battlestar, makes it a little faster, fixes a few issues. But let me just say, if you love the sci-fi series, Battlestar is one of the best implementations of an IP in board game form that there is. So hold on to it, love it, and get it played, because it will be satisfying to you, because it's going to give you that experience of the show.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
So, and I'm sure you've heard that a million times, so I apologize for
it's all good.
telling you what you already knew. But yeah, I love BSG. I get Unfathomable to the table more because it's easier. And people that aren't into Battlestar, it's a little easier to just go, hey, we're trying to get this boat to the coast, and these monsters are popping up on the sides, right? So the theme is so much easier to explain. It's just Unfathomable is more generic Cthulhu. I get it, turns people off. Not everybody's cup of tea, but the some of the streamlining of the rules make things a little bit easier, a little more accessible. But guess what, Arwen? I'm gonna bet good money that you've played a few board games before, so you're probably not gonna have any problems. You're not gonna have any problems when you put Battlestar on the table and understanding the rules and getting through it. You're just not.
Awesome.
You're not. You'll have a good time.
Yeah, huge social deduction fan. I loved Unfathomable. I'm a big fan of Dark Moon, coined as BSG Express.
Oh yeah.
And I have not played this one either. I would love to.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, even when we got into the hobby 10, 11 years ago, it was already out of print. I think it's perpetually out of print. So.
Yeah, it was born into it. Just
so yeah.
The out of print.
And this is the brass, right? That's the one. That's the old and busted ugly one.
That is it. Which I think was re-implemented as Lancashire.
Okay.
And then Birmingham was like the new one of the two from Roxley that added beer as a resource.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I did have a friend that bought me like the 2-player board for this for Christmas, but I still haven't played brass at all. So sorry, Mike. Please continue. I apologize.
Well, this isn't current hotness, but it's recent hotness. I demoed this at Gen Con in 2022 and really enjoyed Septima from Mind Clash Games. Have you played this one, Arwen?
So I played the demo as well, and it's sitting on my shelf of shame to get done too, because
twinsies.
Bob and I.
My version of it was actually missing components, which fortunately Mind Clash did send them out very quickly after
that's cool.
Everything fulfilled. So.
That's cool, because that's tough. That doesn't always happen. They don't always have the ability to do that. Yeah. So that's awesome. That's really good.
I really like one unique theme. You're a witch and you're crafting potions and you're using those on people. And it's got this really cool mechanic where you choose your action. You select one of your action cards. Everybody has the same one. You're going to reveal it. If multiple witches choose the same card, you get a bonus out of that card. But each time you do that, the witch hunters take notice. And the more the witch hunters take notice, the more they will pursue you around. And they're going to start to steal your apprentices and stuff like that. Just sounds awesome. I love the theme. I really like the color palette for this game. The art just really, really pops for me. So love that art a lot, and I cannot wait to table this one. Me and Bob both backed this one. We've been talking about freaking playing this one and reviewing it for a couple months now. It's like, let's just play this, please. You know what? It was also really fun to punch and organize. I actually
Yes.
really love
Uh,
organizing that game because it's labeled, it has the game trays in there.
It's
It
so
was
satisfying.
enjoyable to sort that game.
I love organizing games. I really do. It's like a Zen thing for me.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. You want a nightmare one though. Dice Realms is a really tough one. But
Oh
when you
God.
solve that puzzle and you figure out how all those die faces go into the different spots, feels pretty good.
All right, good stuff.
Oh
On
man.
to our number one game on the Shelf of Shame.
So my number one game is pure sentimentality. It's an IDW game. It is a game that I regretted not backing when it came out on Kickstarter, and then when it came out, like so 2016ish, I believe is when it came out. I didn't get it until 2019, and I bought it on the secondary market. I paid a reasonable price because I held out. I wasn't gonna overpay, but I still haven't played it, and I've had it since 2019. And that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shadows of the Past. But I have the Works edition, which looks like a pizza
Wow.
box. It's like a big
Uh-huh.
fat giant box. It's a Ninja Turtles campaign style game. At the time, like I was very heavy into Descent second edition, Star Wars Imperial Assault, which improved themselves by adding an app so somebody didn't have to play as the villain. So TMNT still is going to have the villain problem, but that's fine. I don't care. I will play a Shredder, whatever. But the minis for this game look great. I mean, IDW is gone now as a game design studio. I mean, they still do comics, but they closed their board game side ages ago. Who knows what's going to happen with this license, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I know it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But as a kid, when Ninja Turtles were big and coming into prominence, this is always a thing for me. Oh, thanks, Mike. See, Googs knows. Eastman and Laird. Are they dead, Chris? I don't think they're dead. Anyways, I just love the IP. This was a nostalgia buy when I got it. This is a game that I'll keep on my shelf until I get the damn thing played. I just will. There's some games that I have not played that I'm like, somebody's offered me a trade or something. I'm like, yeah, you can have it. Like I'll get rid of it. But this is one that it's like, no, I'm gonna get I'm gonna get this game played. My 6-year-old, I feel really bad because he has come down and into my game room, and I've got kids' games that I play with him. And there's 2 games he goes to all the time. One of them is my Ghostbusters, the board game from Cryptozoic, which I bought for like $10 at Ollie's. And I will let him get into that game and mess around with the minis because I don't care near as much about that game. Don't get me wrong. Love the IP. Super excited about it. We'll play it eventually, but I don't really have high expectations or hopes as to what that game's going to be. I've actually played one scenario of it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what this is.
Mhm.
Fine. But Ninja Turtles, like that one, I've been like, let's be gentle. Let's be a little careful with this one. Because he's 6, he's action figures and Legos, like his toys are a little more durable than what I expect the minis and stuff to be. But if he's still interested in a year or two and he wants to play, we're going to play the hell out of this game. And I'm really excited. And if not, and I find a different group to play it with after my kids don't decide that they don't care about board games, that's fine too. It's Ninja Turtles. I want to play it. I'm very excited to play it. So TMNT, the Works. I wrote it down as the Works because that's the edition I have, but it is Shadows of the Past by Kevin Wilson. And yeah, Kevin Wilson did work on Descent as well. Googs, great point. But to me, that's just another bonus because that is a game style that I really enjoy. Yeah, I guess I need to bring it to QSCon. The other thing is if it plays anything like Descent, I kind of already know how to play it. So it'll be really easy to get out. But again, one that I held on to until I could get the Kickstarter all-in version. And, because I didn't back it, and I was like, oh, I should have backed this. And was kind of glad I didn't, because I probably still wouldn't have had it played. So I would have owned this game since 2016 instead of since 2019. But yeah, that's my guilty pleasure, popcorn board game pick. It's my number one, but it's a theme that is near and dear to my heart, and can't wait to play it. Yeah. All right. Even better. Googs has it. I don't have to bring it. So you, Mike, you can have a Lacerda game, and I'll have my my bubblegum Ninja Turtles game, and that's cool. I'll sleep well tonight.
All right, is it time?
Yeah, go for it. Nail it.
My number one is a game that I bought as soon as it came out because I love the theme of it, revolving around the World's Fair, and trying to basically be a nation that's trying to get buzz around inventions and get the support of inventors and that. And it is Crystal Palace.
I want to play this game.
My friends talk about this game incessantly, and I'm just pissed off because I can't play it. They're outside of my normal game group, and this is one. I actually have 4 more, and the 4 that I just talked about are on this list of 5 games that I have to play that I identified at the beginning of the year that I said these are the 5 that no matter what, we're getting to the table. And it's getting around that time that I need to add another one. And I think this one's coming up next. It's dice placement. The theme is fantastic. You set the value of the die, and you still have to pay for those dice at the end of the round. So they are more powerful, but you're also paying for that power, which just sounds amazing.
Yeah, this game looks so damn good. This game looks so freaking good. I love this pick.
It's one that has sat, and yeah, it was a 2019 release. I bought it immediately. I'm like, I'm not sleeping on this one, and have not been able to get it out since. And I think part of that might have been the pandemic too.
Oh, sure.
It might have been getting around that time. Unfortunately, and it's been calling to me. You just it's on that shelf that just you're looking at it, and it's like, hey, I'm still here. I saw what you brought into the basement, but I'm still here.
Yeah. Oh man, it looks so good. This game's been on my radar for ages. I think it's kind of like what you had said. Like I really liked the World's Fair game that was that took place in the Chicago World's Fair game.
Yeah,
and this looked like
1999, I think, or 1901. It might have been.
And this is like a heavier, like, I don't know, just more, right? It's like that, but more with some different mechanics. But I just love that theme. I love that idea. Of everything, and yeah. And I love when you use dice in different ways other than just rolling for a number. And
it's just so clever what they did with it, with all the different tracks, and when you place dice, and when do I do this, and what value do I give to it. It's just such a crunchy puzzle. I love that. And that was World's Fair 1893 was that other game.
Yes.
And that was quite good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game. A lot lighter, I think, than what Crystal Palace is going to end up being, but still like in that vein a little bit, right? And again, slices of history, slices of, yeah, I love that stuff.
I love me some dice placement. That's for sure.
I was just going to make a joke about how Mike hates dice placement, even though it's one of his favorite mechanics.
It definitely is. Okay. Well, no surprise. I saved my Steffenfeld game for the number one on this list.
Called
It
it.
may have the weirdest theme of any game he's ever made, and it's Bonfire.
Oh, you
Mm,
own Bonfire?
mhm.
I own Bonfire,
I didn't know you owned
and
this. I want to play this game.
well, I've tried to get it to the table a few times, but Mike suggests games, people's eyes gloss over. I don't know, it's a thing. But but this game just I've read the rules a couple times. I've watched the videos, and it's got Yoda meeples, by the way. So
Hmm.
let's just get that out of the way. Let's Where'd it go? There you go. There's the Yoda meeples. Um, it's got contract fulfillment. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's only like 100 minutes, even at 4 players. I've just heard nothing but great things about this one. Arwen, if you've played it, chime in.
I actually have, and I love Yoda meeples because who wouldn't?
Hmm.
Um, but the action selection and how you do that is really to me like the core essence of this game and what makes it so good.
Mhm.
You're taking these tiles and you're placing them out, and the more that you can connect and make basically adjacent patterns with, the stronger that action is going to be. And that puzzle just hit with me so well. I thought that was extremely well done. I really loved it. I've played it a couple of times and it's hit both times. And I would gladly play it again.
Yeah, that I really like that action selection too. It actually reminds me of Witchstone, which is a
Mhm.
Reiner Knizia game that honestly I feel like plays like a Steffenfeld game.
It
And
does.
it's almost the exact same action selection where you're drawing those tiles, and the more line up, the stronger the action gets. And yeah, it is a very unique action selection system for sure. But it's a wild theme, but man, it's just really, really pretty too. So I'm just dying to play this one. A lot of people I know that are Feld fans rank this one super high. So just yeah, naturally it was going to go really high up this list.
I have only heard great things about Bonfire. Like it's been on my radar for a while. Jason from Board Game Mechanics really, really, really likes Bonfire quite a bit.
Yes, and he's a
Um,
big Feld fan too.
he is, he is. But I here's the awesome thing about like listening to board game podcasts or watching, reviews on YouTube is you don't even always have to agree with the person, but they can, if they describe the game well enough, you go, yeah, I don't agree with their opinion, but that game's definitely for me. Or that game isn't for me, even though they loved it. So just one of those people, right, that can explain stuff, does a good job of laying it out in a way that I can tell usually if that game's going to land or not. And
Ooh,
Bonfire just sounds really good.
yeah, it's just a weird, really weird theme. I want to mention two that I mentioned earlier because I know Mike. I don't think Mike was in here earlier. Giuliano, I just want to let you know, Dulasaur Island was number 9, and Asking for Troubles was number 7. You're welcome, and
Yeah,
thank you.
pandering. You accuse me of pandering, and here you are pandering. um, these are awesome. I love lists like this. Like we all have different approach. Not, I don't want to say different approaches, but we all have different games and different reasons why these games. And then like the other amazing thing is that like being games that we want to play, we're excited to play, and there's been multiples where other either Arwen or Mike is like, oh yeah, I know that game, it's great, or it didn't land with me. But just being able to like, I don't know, these kind of games like create that conversation. Very exciting. I love these kind of shows. I'm geeking out a bit, but it's just super fun.
I also love that we didn't necessarily, I don't think we had any crossover between the top 10 that
Mm-mm.
on any of them. Like we had played certain ones, but you know, or they were on our shelves of shame, but there was no crossover between them. And I found that was pretty cool.
And I called 0 audibles. So yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
change anything last minute because of that. Because I'll do that sometimes where it's like, well, I don't want to always talk about the same games. And also, what a good opportunity to talk about games that I'd never talk about.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
exactly.
Right?
That's
Because we're always talking about games we played. So
yes. I want to do this list again, Tim. I want to do at the same time. I want to throw some honorable mentions out there. So,
well, what we probably will need to do is just have to have Arwen on again and talk about Shelf of Shame and update and do another list. I mean, as long as she didn't have too terrible of a time, we're going to put her on the spot.
I think I could manage that. Yeah.
Yeah. See, we're not so bad. But no, that'd be super fun. It'd be a great time. And a great excuse to have you back on, and a great excuse to talk about the other 100 games that we didn't talk about today.
My bench depth is very strong when it comes to that.
Well, what we need to do is everybody reconvene after we've knocked a few of these off.
Yeah. We can talk about our experiences playing them.
Yes.
And then get to like the next level.
Yeah, because that would be an interesting pregame segment, right? Is that hey, this is what has fallen off of my list so far, you know. Arwen updates everybody every 2 weeks on her show, but if you're not listening to that, shame on you. You could tune in here though and get that update.
Get the D.
Maybe I'd actually play mine if that was the case. Otherwise, Tim, you're just assuming I actually play my games. Me and my 31% Shelf of Shame.
Well, the thing is when I roll into your house next time with like a whole bunch of games you've never seen me come to your house with before, you'll know what my secret plan is.
Well, yeah, and you'll know why I never get my Shelf of Shame games played.
Exactly. You just have to be more aggressive.
What's that? I haven't played that yet. Need to learn that. That's why that happens. I'd rather play other people's games.
You just have to bring shinier games off of your Shelf of Shame than what your friends have on their shelf.
Yeah, my old crusty Feld games.
Right.
Hey, some people really like those old crusty Feld games, Mike. I'm just saying.
Nothing wrong with that. No shame there. No shame.
I'm just by far, well, we have multiple guys that don't even yeah, that's perfect. I will just have all my games already set.
Listen, that is the passive aggressive way to there's been many times where like you're at a game night and people are like, oh, what are we going to play? I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I just start setting something up because it's like, well, if you're that indecisive, you're going to be fine playing this. And then I get it played.
Or you just set it up beforehand and you say, this is what we're playing. And I'm going to teach you. And usually if somebody's going to argue with that, is that somebody that you really want to game with anyways?
Exactly. I love it.
Nobody in our group has the same fervor for Feld games that I do. So
that's a shame.
I'll keep trying though. I'll keep trying.
Listen, I am Feld curious, but the problem is with my group before I had people like Mike, the people that I would game with, their interest level in those were not really very super high, right? So you needed like a theme that would grab people more. But the thing is I think once you get people in and then you're like, oh yeah, no, here's some really great game mechanics and games you would enjoy. But I think luring and trapping people into the hobby early on, you need that shiny, pretty, accessible stuff. And I think that Felds are, you can't say underrated because they are properly appreciated by those who play and are deep in the hobby and love that kind of game, but they do get overlooked, I think, sometimes. And Queen Games didn't really do anybody any favors by just renaming and reprinting a bunch of stuff and then charging a ton of money. Listen, I'm not shaming Queen for what they're doing. They're running a business. They're doing a thing. And if it's keeping those games in print, God love them. But not necessarily my favorite thing.
Yeah. It's a love-hate relationship. I love to hate them.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, at least they're getting some additional love, and there's been some of them that have been languishing on out of print for years. Bora Bora is a great example of that. I was extremely fortunate to be able to find a copy of that for $10 at Half Price Books.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of
what
my
a steal.
best finds ever. And I played that game and I'm like, this is amazing. But a lot of people aren't that fortunate, and a lot of people don't have that opportunity. And at least this is getting them back in the hands of people. I just wish that they would do it better. I wish that they would run better Kickstarters. I wish that they would, do a lot of things differently.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of personal opinion.
I think you and I probably agree on just about every dang thing about about those Kickstarters.
Yeah.
Are you by any chance finishing out your collection with Nassau and Kathmandu?
It's funny that you mentioned that. So I went with the first four, and the first four were kind of special to me because I love, Stefan Feld. I played, Trajan, Castles of Burgundy, Bonfire, and I was like, these are all fantastic games. I'm gonna love everything that this guy puts out. Didn't turn out to be the case, but I still do like most of the stuff that he puts out. And it was kind of like a present to me because it was right around that 2020 time frame. It was right around the time that I started transitioning, and I just said, you know what, this is my present to myself for finally having the courage to be able to do this.
Hell yeah.
So I got I put in for 0127, which was when I started. Unfortunately, somebody else got that, but I did get my birthday, 1027, as my number. So I got the first four. I was super excited for them. And then they started in with the, oh, yeah, by the way, we're running this Kickstarter for the next two, and there's a bunch of add-ons that if you want this thing, you're going to have to buy these too if you want it complete. And I'm like, well, I just spent all this money in your previous campaign for the first two with the additional money guaranteeing me the second two. And now you're saying that I have to spend more money after I did that to complete things. It hit me the wrong way.
That's rough. That's rough.
And the fact that they were non-communicative during the whole process, the way that they run their Kickstarters is very, hands-off. And I like updates. Just give me an update. Where's my stuff? Even if it's, hey, we're working on it. We're having shipping issues or printing issues. That's where the photo here, Dave Beck from Paverson Games.
Oh, I love Dave. He's super cool.
One of the best Kickstarters I've ever seen in my entire life was Distilled. And Dave did a fantastic job and is like to me, textbook example of this is how you inform your backers. People aren't going to be upset if you're late as long as they know. As long as they're visible to the process, as long as they see what you're going through, they don't care. There's going to be a couple of jerks that, go in and say, well, I need my stuff, because there's always going to be that. But he did such a fantastic job. And then Queen Games is on the other end of that spectrum that people will like say after 5-6 months, like, hey, where are we with this? And then decide. Distilled is so good.
It's really fun. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, generally folks are reasonable as long as you tell them. And Queen Games not only didn't post those updates, but then when they got, the whole like, hey, we'd like an update prompt from a bunch of people, they said, we saw that you want an update and we don't do updates. And I'm like, well, I don't do Queen Game Kickstarters anymore. So
yeah, I mean, to be dismissive and kind of rude about it, I mean, it kind of sucks.
That's what got
right?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is an industry of people. This is an industry that, you almost back for that person, especially in smaller, smaller companies. Kim was mentioning Seppi, and I know you guys were.
Oh
talking
God, I
about
love
that,
Seppi. He's one of my favorites. Week. Yeah.
And you want to be part of that process, and that's part of what makes Kickstarter not supposed to be just a pre-order platform. And I got so upset that I stopped at my 4, and I took my 4, and I said I'm not getting any more after that.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, right, is you could probably count on 2 hands the gigantic board game companies versus the independent, right? There's so many companies. Once I actually got into the hobby and started learning about people in the industry and getting to know people in the industry, and you just take for granted that like some of these companies aren't Hasbro. Like, no, that's actually just like 4 people. You know what I mean? Like the whole company is 4 people. And you're like, wait, what? Like, but they've done so many things that I love, and it's just, there's just not any room for that. I don't think, in the hobby. There's a Kickstarter. I just got an update today, and this one's been going long, but they send frequent updates, and they've had, they're getting their pre-production samples, and they're like, well, these are off. We want it to be right. We've got to wait till after Chinese New Year. Should we get the physical copy back? Blah, blah, blah. It'll take this amount of time to produce, and then should be out, assuming everything goes right. I've seen like 3 of those updates in a row, right? Where they've been like, well, if everything's good, we'll have it out by this time. And it hasn't been, but they're communicating it. And it honestly, like, it's whatever, man. I know the game's coming, like that's fine. It'll get here when it gets here, and it's going to be that game I was excited about. And I'd rather have the most fantastic, best version of that game.
100%.
Right. Oh, wait.
Yep. And
any update is a good update. Let's say something.
Thank you, Mike.
Anything.
Yep.
Anything.
Yep.
Just let us know.
Just let us know and keep us informed. And Reed actually made a comment. And thank you for that. The customer service 101, and that reminded me of Tin Robot up in Toronto as well.
I really like James a lot. Yeah,
such a fantastic job with his funding as well. I just got another update from them. I think it was yesterday, on Cities of Venus, which I'm looking forward to.
Cool game. And I got a prototype right over here. Love
it. The way that he handled that whole campaign and that was just so well done. So, and, shout outs to them too for doing an excellent job.
James will be on the show in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say James is gonna be on 2 weeks. Yeah, I like James. Yeah, very cool. And I will always love James just for publishing Reed's game Catnip Auction House, because I also love Reed. So hey, I've got that sticker on my water bottle
to put up onto. I'm starting to put together a wall of stickers that I've got from like a whole bunch of people, and I need to make sure that I do something with them. So
Arwen, have you played Garden Geckos yet from Tin Robot?
I haven't. No.
You should ask to be able to see that game. It's really good.
Is it?
low rules overhead with lots of amazing fun decisions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might get a
Mike,
hold of James and see if I can snag a copy of that.
I reach out. Mike and I played it last weekend, right? Mike, you were there. Or yeah, Mike, you were there when we
Yeah,
played Garden Geckos.
Sunday. Again, punches above its proof. It's really easy to play. But then you start looking at the bevy of options and trying to synergize them. And you're like, wow, there's a lot to consider on a turn. And it's got this cute little gecko on the front. You just do not expect for all of this decision making to be thrown at you with such a simple rule set. I thought it was great.
So I absolutely love when games do that. And I think that I'm starting to see that more in the hobby, and I think you guys have seen that too, where games will have themes on them that are inviting, that are welcoming, that are cozy. And then some people go, "Wow, I don't want my games cozified." Well, you've got 8 million other games
Get
that you
over
can
it.
go back into
There's
history and play. So
yes,
whatever.
yes.
But they're inviting new people into the hobby. They're inviting diverse people. They're inviting people who normally wouldn't be part of this industry, and they're bringing them in and having games that do punch above their weight. I think is so incredibly important because it brings people like my girlfriend who don't normally play the heavier games that I really, really enjoy. But it's something that I feel like I can make decisions at the table that are satisfying, that are, that are crunchy, that are valuable. And she can have a good time with it as well. And that's why we're in this hobby to begin with, is to spend time with people.
Yes, and if that gets her to the table and you guys get to spend that time playing a game together and having a nice time, nailed it, right?
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Exactly.
My whole thing with Garden Geckos was like that game goes in my Thanksgiving travel bag, right? When I go around for the holidays and I see in-laws that aren't like the hardcore gamers, but they'll humor me and play a game as long as I don't try to throw anything too crazy at them. And it's like, that game will still be very satisfying to play for me and will be very inviting and make them feel very like, oh, they're making really good and fun. It kind of sneakily, tricks them into playing a heavier game than what they think they're going to play.
Yeah.
But they have a great time doing it, and I'm going to throw Andrew a little love real quick because I think Wine Cellar is going to be that kind of game. I think that that's a game that's going to provide a lot of really cool choices and really interesting strategy with a very approachable theme and a really nice table presence. I just really appreciate and love those kind of games because I'll bring them out after Thanksgiving dinner. I'm like, all right, I'm going to teach everybody how to play this game. And nobody is going to have to sit through, a half-hour teach, to play a game that they may not like. So when it's like 5-10 minutes tops, like, oh, you could even just go, let's just play like a dummy round real quick. And like, you see how this kind of works. Okay. Now, let's re-rack. Let's go.
Yeah.
Love games like that for those opportunities. And then, especially when they've got that extra level, you could throw it out on the table and play it with the most jaded, gamers, and they'll still have a good time because the choices are fun.
I want to highlight this one because I think it is a really good example, and we are having them on in a couple weeks.
Oh yeah,
Like, how stupid cute is this box?
yeah, it's adorable.
I mean, it really is. And really, all you do is just play 1 out of 3 tiles and place a gecko on it. But then you're like, okay, we got to be able to connect a butterfly to the cockroach. But if I do that, I can't finish off this wheat requirement that I have. And then shoot, I don't have any geckos left. That means I'm going to have to move one of the 4 I've already got on the board. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It just really opens up with such a simple rule set. I was really, really impressed.
Love that.
Love games like that.
Yeah, love.
And
it's
again, they get played.
Kind of like Cascadia, it's got that community scoring, but you've also got like a private scoring, and there's 2 levels to the scoring. That's kind of what it reminded me of, but I enjoyed this better than Cascadia. Anyway, it's good. I liked it.
But
Perfect example though. It's just stupid cute.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
wonderful, wonderful game. It's just kind of funny. Again, what a small world, right? Like all of these circles are so small and overlap because you know Reed, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
I know Reed.
You know,
Reed's wonderful.
we know Reed. I love Reed. I had the opportunity to review Vigilante very early on, or preview that when it was going to Kickstarter. He took a shot on like a very small at the time YouTube channel and sent us a copy. And I've just been like, the game was awesome. We had a great time with it, and then just got to know Reed, and it's like I love him. He's great. And that it's just like everybody else, you know, you just get to enjoy, you get to meet all these people and you're like, oh yeah, no, they're cool. Oh, you know them. Yeah, you know they're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. You know, they're awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. I haven't played Time Splicers yet, Reed, but I'll have to ask James about it when he's on the show. So, but yeah, small world, lots of overlap, and it all the more reason why customer service is so damn important, because there's been times where I've had a bad experience and I've, instead of just like sounding off, because I think that's personally, I think that's distasteful, but I do go to other people that I know people, and I'm like, hey, this kind of happened. What's the story with this?
Yep.
Because everybody's had a bad day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's had a bad day, but is it a bad day or is it a problem?
Right.
And there's a difference. So I try to get that information before we go crazy with stuff.
Well, and especially, you know, I've had the opportunity to talk to a couple of CSRs or customer service reps that work for different companies. Some of them work for multiple different companies, trying to juggle that. You know, Maddie is a great example of that.
Did he used to work for Surf and Meeple, or does still, and now works? Okay. Yep. Yeah. I know Maddie too. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Just Maddie is who sent me King's Dilemma. You know, to give you an idea of how awesome Maddie is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had some great times at conventions and some great chats, and you know, just again, the kind of people in this industry that, you know, are by and large running things and, you know, driving change and making the industry and the hobby a better place.
Yes.
But you get to hear about his experiences, and you know, it was really fascinating. I haven't had him on, but I've wanted to have him on just to talk about all the different hats that he's had to wear and all the different companies that he's had.
He's got some stories, I bet, for sure.
He's got some stories, let me tell you. But he's wonderful. There was also the Chai Kickstarter. That they went through a couple of different CSRs, and it was very interesting working with their CSR, because I backed high, or what was it? Was it the High Tea expansion or something like that? Which love the game. It's cute as hell. It's wonderful. I've gotten it out a bunch of times. But a bad Kickstarter.
Right.
You know,
I've heard the horror stories.
Let's face it. You know, but their CSR, instead of coming out guns blazing and saying, you know, why is this horror, you know, this going crazy? And, you know, I was upset. I posted things that I kind of regretted, but I reached out and I said, hey, you know, can we fix this? And he goes, yeah, what's the issue? And you just treat them like human beings, and lo and behold, your problems get fixed.
Isn't that amazing?
Hi, Andrew. Thank you, by the way. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really, again, and that kind of circles around to why I have the segments I do on the show, is you're dealing with human beings. And people need to see that. People need to understand that, and they need to know that, you know, you are dealing with a legitimate human being at the end of the day.
and again, you can always be honest and upfront without just being a total turd of a human being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's legitimate ways to get your point across without being an asshole.
Yeah.
And I think Mike and I were even talking about this sort of like, because Mike and I message each other all day, all the time, anyways, and we talk about how people online are so different sometimes when you are just talking to them one-on-one versus
100%.
and it's just amazing what a one-on-one conversation with people will do and give you perspective, but hopefully it gives them perspective as well. But yeah, I just think people got to calm down, take a second and realize we're all just human beings trying to get through the day. We all got our things we're dealing with, and
yeah, it's very easy to kind of dehumanize somebody at the other end of the line if you don't have to look at them, if you don't have to talk with them and see them and see their facial expressions as you're saying what you're saying. It's much different when you have to have a conversation like that with somebody. And to your point, Tim, having that one-on-one interaction or even being at a table with somebody, to open it up to a broader perspective. That's one of the reasons that we do what we do is, to have those human conversations and interactions and to learn. And, I think we could all be a little bit more sympathetic to what people are going through. We could be a little bit more human.
Oh my gosh.
And
a little
bit nicer when we're dealing with people online.
Oh my gosh. 100%. Online it's wonderful and amazing and toxic and horrible all at the same time.
And also a cesspool sometimes.
Yeah. But it's just one of the things I love about this hobby is that I have met so many unique and interesting people from all walks of life. And, you just, when you play games and you get to know people and when they play games and the conversations that happen, it's such a great and fulfilling experience most of the time. There's always going to be turds in the punch bowl, right? But I mean, for the most part though, I just have the best times, and I really, 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 I've become, especially when we started hosting events when we were like our Meeple Game Society pre-COVID, a couple years before COVID and leading up to COVID. And we're organizing these events and we're doing these things. And like, as a host, I always felt obligated to make sure everybody's getting to play games, hopefully having a good time, and do all these things and stuff. And it really helped me become more aware of like comfort levels, right? And make sure people feel comfortable and welcome. And so like, because gamers can also be cliquish,
very much so.
And so I always probably maybe even over the top, but just made a point of being like, I don't care if I saw people not playing a game, like, what do you want to play? I will play whatever. I will teach you a game. I will learn your game, whatever. Let's just play, right? I don't know these people. I just want them to be able to have a nice time. Because if they had a nice time, they'll come back, they'll tell their friends, and more people want to play board games, and it's like who these people are doesn't matter, right? Like they're people, they're here. They took the chance to come out, and clearly they didn't know a bunch of people, because if they did, they'd been playing games with them.
Been over there.
Right. So, I really tried to make an effort, and there's always ways you can improve and do better, but board gaming has really helped me sort of open my eyes and try to be not extra inclusive, but just being aware of inclusivity, right? Like, hey, doesn't matter what kind of game they like, how they dress, what they look like, it doesn't matter. we all just want to play games. We want to sit across from each other. We're having these conversations. We're going to get to know each other. And then guess what? Now I've just made like 3 new friends. Good time.
Well, you've learned something about those people too.
Also true. 100%.
You're all humans that are there for the same reason.
That's it. That is it.
So
that's it. That's why I love the hobby. It's just an excuse to just meet people, learn their stories, broaden my horizons, and I'm really fortunate to have friends that are like-minded. You know what I mean? I'm very fortunate to be around people that really love to interact and engage and stuff.
Mostly not Cylons.
There's
mostly not. There's a couple there.
Here's the thing, Evan.
There's a couple there.
If they don't know that they're Cylons, does that count? Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Just saying. Just saying. But yeah, I'm really lucky. I've got a great group of friends that are as engaging and open, and we try to, hopefully cultivate a friendly, environment, right, where everybody can get to know each other.
And I think that's so incredibly important today with everything that's going on in the world. And I won't elaborate because I have to elaborate all the time for people.
I know. Right. For sure.
And it's just a constant okay, I have to remind you that there's places I can't go and things I can't do because of who I am, and conventions I can't go to. But I'll digress.
Sure. We could do a whole show on that, and I'd be willing to do it if you ever wanted to. But I get it, right? Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about it incessantly because I think that goes to inclusivity as well as, those factors like, what you're doing and how you're doing it and where you're doing it. And, those policies of, people will be affected by that, whether you know it or not. Right. And, that goes back to creating an inclusive environment. I'll just give an example before I get off my soapbox. There was a designer, Marceline Lehman, who I believe did the solo mode for Oceans.
Okay. Love Oceans.
Yeah, really good, really good person. She came in and, she posted about feeling uncomfortable going to Ohio, and Ohio's my home state. I grew up in New York, but Ohio's been kind of like a second home for me because I moved up here in 2016, and a lot of my friends are here and everything. Mm-hmm. But she was concerned, and she was concerned as a trans woman, am I going to be safe? Is this, with everything that's going on and everything that's being said, is this safe? And to your point, Tim, creating that inclusive environment and saying, listen, you will always have a space at my table. You will always be welcome. We will make sure that you're taken care of. You will be safe here with us because we will make sure that nothing bad happens to you. You will have a place to game. That's free of anything else that might be going on. You can come back and make sure that, we'll be there for you. It means a lot to people. And there are some people that don't realize it, that do it, that are, just doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's it. But please continue. I'm sorry.
But it really does have an impact on people's lives, being able to go back to that rock and to go back to that place that they know is safe, that they can travel to places that they otherwise wouldn't be able to.
Right.
We had a group that was at Origins that a couple of people didn't necessarily feel safe. And yes, Reed, I do plan on getting to Toronto at some point because I love it up there. But we traveled together, and we were able to go wherever we wanted, go get ice cream, go get dinner, But we were always there for each other. And then we had, people that were there facilitating. And I think, again, it's the right thing to do. And that's what it boils down to. No matter who you are, no matter, what you think about the world, having that place that is safe for those who are marginalized, who are being, treated as less than, is super important.
Right. Well, I mean, like, to me, and again, it's very easy to take this for granted, right? Because I am a white, straight male, right? I'm married. I've got 2 kids. I walk around, nobody looks at me twice. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy to take that for granted. And like talking to people like Seppi, and other people in the industry, and you're like, oh, like I didn't even realize, like it doesn't occur to me that should even be a problem. Yeah. Because I'm just so sometimes rose tinted glasses naive, about things. But also, I've got kids. I don't know how they're going to decide to live their lives when they get older. Right. But guess what? It doesn't matter. I'm going to love them no matter what. Things like this, they put that into perspective. My daughter's getting older. She's going to start making some decisions about herself, yeah. And it doesn't change anything for me. Right. All I can do is try to encourage and create as loving and safe environment as possible. I look at it that way. You know what I mean? As a parent, how would I feel if somebody treated my daughter or my son differently because of lifestyle choices? Mm-hmm. I mean, just to put a very broad statement on it, I'd be pretty pissed off. Yeah. I'd be,
and really showing the world who they are.
Right.
And it's not even a matter of choice. It's a matter of I'm
100%.
Existing in the space that I am existing as I am. And
yes, that's a very good point. Yeah. Lifestyle choices, maybe not the best terms, but again, right, who they are.
Yeah, the sentiment is there.
Let them be who they are. Let them grow into the people that they are going to be, and support them and encourage that. And I went from a very introverted, nerdy kid that then was able to figure out who I was and then be me. And now I'm happy, and I'm extroverted, and it's crazy. I tell people that I was shy. I used to be so shy I could barely talk to anybody. And they would be like, you're a liar. I don't believe you, because I talk too damn much now. But I was able to find my own skin and get comfortable in it, and stuff. So.
But I think, Tim, to that point, having the space to do that and having the people that you could feel comfortable around,
yes,
you could grow and you could have those experiences. Anybody is going to benefit from that. And, providing that space, once again, is just so incredibly important.
Yes.
I'll get off the sour note.
No, you're fine.
Because that could be another entire topic. But I do feel that things are getting better because of, those spaces being available. I do think, more voices are being heard. Mm-hmm. I do think that there's more diversity in the industry now than ever. I just don't want to see that backslide.
That's the thing, right? Yeah.
And, with everything that's being talked about, I just, want to make sure that I keep fighting. I want to make sure that other, people that are, from those marginalized populations feel included in this hobby just the same as anybody else.
Well, that's why what you do and your podcast, whether you, for whatever reason, you decide to listen to it, right, is so important. Like I can listen to it and just enjoy it as a board game related podcast that I like listening to because I appreciate what you're talking about. But for other people, that is that's a bonfire, that's a light of hope. That's a sign of progress. And while not always easy, it is incredibly brave of you to be able to keep doing that. And I know you have to find that reserve within you sometimes, right? Because there's got to be days where it's just not It just can't feel good. But you got to go out there and you keep doing it and you keep being, a representative. So, I mean, it's incredibly brave and wonderful that you do that. So I'm glad that there are people like you out here, doing what you do.
And the bottom line is, I love talking about games. So
Hell yeah. That too. That too. Because I mean, that's the thing, right? We're all here because we love talking about board games. We're just excited about board games. And you get people on a one-on-one, you get to know people, and you're like, oh, well, they're not so bad. What,
Right.
What was I all worked up about? So sorry, Mike.
Sorry about that.
You're good. No, you're fine. You're fine. I'm just the one that when it gets late, I get not as talkative. The brain starts to shut down a little bit. It's the hour.
How long do these usually go, Mike?
They go until like 10:30 or midnight sometimes.
Okay.
So like ending at midnight is not that abnormal at all.
Okay.
It's not the worst. I do apologize for keeping you as long as we've kept you, but it's been wonderful having you. I've been very excited about it.
Yeah, I've had such a great time talking and getting to know you guys. I think has been great. Being able to talk about the Shelf of Shame stuff that I've wanted to get played and everything. So, and being able to also interact with your listeners, and some familiar, some not. And that's been great as well. So
hey, if we even got you 2 more subs, we'll call it the Board Game Rundown Bump, and we'll be really happy we got you that.
It's perfect.
But yeah, no, I really do appreciate you being open to coming on the show, because other than a few messages back and forth, you really didn't know us, super well. We did have Kim Breeze vouching for us. That's got to carry some weight.
It's got a little bit of weight. Like when Kim says these are good guys, you'll be taken care of. I'm like, okay, she hasn't steered me wrong at all yet. So
no, Kim's an angel. I love her. She's just one of the best human beings that I know.
The podcast name is Cardboard Time.
Yeah, Evan, give it a listen. It's really good. Add it to your list. Every Tuesday, 5 a.m.
Every Tuesday at 5 a.m. or whenever you get around to listening to it.
Yep. And thank you, Mike. Mike shared the link in the comments again.
Thank you.
It's there. I honestly, when Kim introduced us, I immediately went and started listening to your podcast, and I listened to a ton of podcasts like all day, and yours immediately went into sort of my regular rotation. I went back and added a few of the older ones just so I could have a few to listen, a few more.
Just as long as you don't go back to the first one. I mean, you can, for historical sake, hear the difference between the two. But yeah. I
tell people like don't ever go back and look at our old episodes. Please don't. I mean, I appreciate it, but don't. We've evolved so much. We've come so far with production values, and we just do better.
Don't look at our early live streams either.
Where I just buffer the whole time.
Yeah, Tim buffers the whole time. I'm still using a phone, and I sound terrible, and the lighting's awful. It's changed a lot. You know what though? You can't get better if you don't at least try. And your first attempt is always going to suck.
Yep.
But how else are you going to grow?
Yep. The first step to getting thing is to suck at it first.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Oh man, this is awesome. Arwen, thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Now I've got new YouTube content that I have to go back and watch too.
Not that far back.
Great.
Not that
far back. We'll keep it recent.
Yeah. Like within the last years, probably fine.
You'll be able to tell immediately. It'll be Tim like frozen in time every 30 seconds.
That's what Mike was talking about. Okay, I know now.
Well, yep.
It used to be really bad. We got through it, yet somehow people still watch. So we're thankful for them.
I would absolutely love to have you on again. I think that would be an amazing time. We can
Let me
do
know
Shelf
when.
of Shame. We can do whatever. I know you are an incredibly busy person, as you are. Seems like you're traveling a lot and doing all kinds of
Yeah.
fun stuff.
Yeah, but sometimes I make time even regardless of being busy because this is honestly cathartic for me. It's
Seriously.
it's just a nice way to chill and decompress and not have to think about the world for, 4
Oh my
hours
gosh.
apparently. So,
One of the things I love about doing the show, Mike and I talk about this all the time. It doesn't matter what our work days were like, and what's going on, but we can just like hang out and bullshit with each other and,
yeah.
Interact with some friends for a little bit. So
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It really is.
it's the best. It is the best. Well, I won't keep you too much later because it is almost midnight, I guess. Because I could go for another 3 or 4 hours and I would hate myself.
Same.
I would hate myself.
I would hate myself. Work would hate you.
Uh-huh.
So
Mm-hmm.
if I had to make an excuse, I would throw you two under the bus so fast it would be crazy.
I will proudly wear those tire tracks.
It was Mike and Tim. I'm telling you, they kept me up, and that's why you're not getting anything out of me today.
That's what happens sometimes on Thursdays because the shows go long. But no, this has been wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And again, like these shows for Mike and I both, it's purely selfish indulgence. And we're excited that other people enjoy what we do because I just have so much fun doing it that even if nobody watched, I would probably still do it just because I enjoy the company.
Exactly.
But Mike, are you going to bring us out of this thing?
I guess I'm going to. Am I? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
you can.
You're right, though. It's like by far the busiest day. I am like mentally exhausted when I come home on Wednesday, and sometimes I have to nap to even make it to the stream or through the stream, and I still don't care. I still love doing it. By far my busiest day of the week, and yet still my favorite. So, you've been awesome, Arwen. Really loved what you brought to the table today. Great topic. And again, I still think it's really cool that that's like a constant topic for your podcast. That's a really interesting thing to cover regularly. So,
And
it's
and don't end up like me and having 330 games on your shelf of shame. That's not a good place to be. Stop it before that happens. Take some of the tips that we talked about tonight and go practice them.
Yeah, the only way that should be allowed is if you go to an estate sale and you just bought 330 games that you've never played before.
You get a really good deal. It's like,
but then get them damn games played.
Yeah, then get them played. You're going to have a marathon of like 12 or 13 days where you're just cycling through stuff.
That's it. Call off work, FMLA. That's what it's there for.
I got a deal.
That down. I need to have that. All right, guys, it has been awesome. I will go ahead and sign us off for the board game rundown. I've been Mike.
I've been Tim.
And I've been Arwen.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.